the last week, we have had to take the painful but necessary decision to revise the producer price of cocoa to achieve competitive pricing and resolve the acute liquidity challenges in the sector. Mr. Speaker, failure to do this as others did and left a debt of 32 billion for this government to pay. Failure to do this would have meant borrowing billions in borrowed funds. Mr. Speaker, this unplanned expenditure would have taken us right back to the very devastating economic problem we have only recently begun to escape. So, Mr. Speaker, while fully understanding the concerns and protests of our farmers, I can firmly assure them that the reforms announced by government will see a total transformation of the cocoa sector. And it will guarantee them a fair and transparent price that enables them to meet the cost of producing the commodity and making decent margins. Mr. Speaker, the difference between economic hardship and avoiding the same is the exercise of sound economic judgment. And I'm determined to take decisions that ensure our collective well-being and avoid the suffering of all our citizens. These are difficult decisions to take, but Mr. Speaker, I had to take them. We did not arrest the dollar. We strengthened the CD to put up a good fight against the other currencies. I can say to you with confidence, Ghana is back. Ghana is working again. And Ghana is open for business. Mr. Speaker, our nation is on the runway. It is in takeoff mode. And you are all advised to fasten your seat belts. Mr. Speaker, I'm also pleased to report that remittances from our relatives abroad, the Ghanaian diaspora, reached a historic high of $7.8 billion in 2025. Mr. Speaker, this is the largest annual inflow ever recorded in Ghana's history. This reflects not only confidence in the Ghanaian economy, but the enduring patriotism of our citizens living and working abroad. Mr. Speaker, these remittances they bring back home support households, they finance education, they build homes, they provide seed money for businesses, and best of all, they stabilize our foreign exchange position. In many respects, our diaspora has become one of the country's most reliable development partners. Without contracts, conditionalities, or fanfare, they are easily one of our most reliable development partners. We must intentionally ensure that citizenship, rather than place of residence, determines one's right to serve the Ghanaian Republic. Ghanaians worldwide who pledge allegiance to this country of theirs and make substantial contributions to its development should not be barred from active participation in public affairs, including the opportunity to hold public office, provided there are appropriate measures to ensure loyalty and accountability. Mr. Speaker, I'm personally in support of the bipartisan bill currently before this House, seeking to address this matter. I also commend the Ghana Navy and the Ghana Air Force, the National Security Council Secretariat, the Chief of Staff's Operations Team, the MP for Ewutu Senya, the Chief Fisherman and people of Senya Breku for the combined effort that successfully rescued all the stranded 71 fishermen who had been attacked by pirates. I've asked the National Security Coordinator to assist the affected fishermen and replace the stolen outboard motors and fishing gear. The Ministry of Health is expected to issue guidelines to eliminate the unacceptable no-bed syndrome. Patients facing medical emergencies must be received and given help if even under makeshift conditions. You don't need to have a comfortable bed to save a patient. No patient must be turned away from any health facility they report to. Mr. Speaker, but in the meantime, government will expand capacity by implementing the Rich Hospital Phase 2 project to increase the number of beds at the Greater Accra Regional Hospital. We will also continue and complete the Police Hospital project, and also continue and complete the La General Hospital. As of December 2025, IOCO has recovered more than 600 million Ghana cedis. The office has investigated 462 cases, with 15 currently under prosecution. It has dismantled transnational carjacking syndicates and has recovered 29 luxury vehicles that were stolen. Mr. Speaker, the government remains resolute that corruption will not be tolerated, regardless of status or political affiliation. The Attorney General's office will continue to use both criminal prosecution and non-conviction-based assets recovery mechanisms to ensure that stolen public resources are returned for national development. Mr. Speaker, I understand that a large majority of Ghanaians are impatient to see those who abuse their public trust in office held to account. Mr. Speaker, there were periods when, under military regimes and unconstitutional governments, extrajudicial means could be used to exact retribution against persons perceived as corrupt or who had abused the mandate given to them by the people. Mr. Speaker, this may have appeared as swift justice, but many regrettable excesses were recorded. In 1992, we overwhelmingly adopted the 1992 Constitution to accept governance by the rule of law. On 7th January, when I swore the oath of office before the people of Ghana, I swore to uphold the 1992 Constitution. I may be as impatient as everyone else to see justice done, but painstaking investigations must be conducted, dockets must be prepared, charges must be filed, and the accused must have their day in court, including appealing, even on the smallest point of law, to higher courts. This process is necessary to protect us all against abuse or ill treatment of citizens, and to ensure that only those guilty of offenses against the state are punished. As President Mills of blessed memory said, he said, and I quote, "The wheels of justice grind slowly, but they grind exceedingly fine." Mr. Speaker, let me reassert my determination to uphold the accountability of public office holders to the people of Ghana.
Well, that's President John Dramani Mahama there, asserting his commitment again to the fight against corruption. This Operation Recover All Loot was one of the major issues in terms of expectation going into this State of the Nation address that he addressed the nation yesterday, less than 24 hours ago, fulfilling that constitutional requirement of letting the nation know through our representatives on the floor of Parliament what the state of the nation is. We have played to you his verdict on the economy, on matters related to the energy sector, the health sector, and then also, big one, cocoa. He spent quite some time talking about that as well, as expected. These are the issues that would dot our conversation this morning. Here on The Key Point, we have the stakeholders who will speak to these specific areas as to whether the president did indeed paint the true state of the nation, or there are some pitfalls that he did not talk about, which they would want to also point to. The economic stability that has been achieved. Question on the mind of the people is how this will be sustained and then also built upon. That will be a question that we will be seeking answers to as the president gives some pointers to. The stability is important. Building on the stable environment that has been created is the next step. How's that going to be done? President gives some pointers. We'll subject it to some conversation this morning. So welcome to The Key Point. On TV3, we're live on 3FM 92.7. Also on TV3 Ghana on Facebook. And on DSTV channel 279. We're all across the world on 3news.com. All these areas that we play to you are the president or from the President's State of the Nation address gives you exactly the boundaries and the areas of this conversation this morning. We'll be back shortly after this quick break. My guests will take their seats. The conversation starts after this. Stay with us.
It's that time of the year when Media General transforms into Ghana's cultural hub, and this year we're taking it to another level. Our Ghana village is bigger and better. So much to experience, eat, drink, buy, do and learn every single day. And there's more. The Ghana Month Expedition offers 3 nights and 4 days of pure, unforgettable fun touring. The best part of the Eastern, Ashanti and Central regions from the 19th to the 22nd of March. And on the 28th March, all roads lead to the Legon City Mall for your favorite food event, the 3FM Gobe Festival. But that's not all. All throughout March, our screens and dials celebrate everything that makes us proud. Our shows, music, movies, festivals, history, traditions, and more. Welcome to a truly incomparable and totally immersive Ghana Month 2026. Ghana Month launches on all Media General platforms on Monday, 2nd March 2026 at 10 a.m. It's that time of the year when Media General transforms into Ghana's cultural hub, and this year we're taking it to another level. Our Ghana village is bigger and better. So much to experience, eat, drink, buy, do and learn every single day. And there's more. The Ghana Month Expedition offers 3 nights and 4 days of pure, unforgettable fun touring. The best part of the Eastern, Ashanti and Central regions from the 19th to the 22nd of March. And on the 28th March, all roads lead to the Legon City Mall for your favorite food event, the 3FM Gobe Festival. But that's not all. All throughout March, our screens and dials celebrate everything that makes us proud. Our shows, music, movies, festivals, history, traditions, and more. Welcome to a truly incomparable and totally immersive Ghana Month 2026. Ghana Month launches on all Media General platforms on Monday, 2nd March 2026 at 10 a.m. It's time to explore Ghana again. From 19th to 22nd March, join the Ghana Month Expedition. 3 regions, 4 days. Eastern, Ashanti, Central. We kick it off in Eastern region. Chocolate experiences, fresh farm fruits, Safari Valley lunch with zebras and exotic animals, Bonsu Eco Park for canopy walks and ziplining, and then party at the Rock City Hotel. Ashanti takes over. Bonre Kente Museum, Kumasi Museum, Comfort Noche Source Site, Lake Bosomtri for hiking adventures and sleepover at Rich Condos. Central brings the history at St. Manso, Cape Coast Castle, plus lunch by the coast. Then a Crown Resort vacation, quad biking, horse riding, water adventures. All this for 6,500 Ghana Cedi single, 5,500 Ghana Cedi shared rooms, and 10,500 Ghana Cedis couple. You're interested, right? Call now 0531 100927 or 0247 120 633. Ghana Month Expedition, 19th to 22nd March. Don't just watch Ghana, experience it. It's time to explore Ghana again. From 19th to 22nd March, join the Ghana Month Expedition. 3 regions, 4 days. Eastern, Ashanti, Central. We kick it off in Eastern region. Chocolate experiences, fresh farm fruits, Safari Valley lunch with zebras and exotic animals, Bonsu Eco Park for canopy walks and ziplining, and then party at the Rock City Hotel. Ashanti takes over. Bonre Kente Museum, Kumasi Museum, Komfornochi Source Site, Lake Bosomtri for hiking adventures and sleepover at Rich Condos. Central brings the history at Sing Manso, Cape Coast Castle, plus lunch by the coast. Then a Crown Resort vacation, quad biking, horse riding, water adventures. All this for 6,500 Ghana cedis single, farms and 10,500 Ghana cedis couple. You're interested, right? Call now 0531 100927 or 0247 120 633. Ghana Month Expedition, 19th to 22nd March. Don't just watch Ghana, experience it. It's that time of the year when Media General transforms into Ghana's cultural hub, and this year,
courage and creativity on talented kids.
Ghana, we know our freedom, stars on the verb and the sweat of your labor.
When I take my eyes and look into the future, my spirit sinks deep into displeasure.
This Sunday, our contestants light up the stage with performances inspired by our customs, our rhythms, and the rich pride of Ghana. It's eviction week, so stand in the competition. Dial star 713 star 13 hash or download the MG Reality app to vote.
Talented Kids Season 17 shows Sunday at 5 p.m. on TV3. Powered by Indomie.
we're taking it to another level. Our Ghana village is bigger and better. So much to experience, eat, drink, buy, do and learn every single day. And there's more. The Ghana Month Expedition offers 3 nights and 4 days of pure, unforgettable fun touring. The best part of the Eastern, Ashanti and Central regions from the 19th to the 22nd of March. And on the
about the soft life and her new life. Tell us the truth. Like, is the life really that soft? So for me, soft life is having the freedom to be able to live how you want. So to be able to wake up slowly, not wake up late, just to be able to travel and be rich in experiences. I go to spa every single week without fail.
Oh, okay.
I have to go.
I'm sorry, did you hear
have to
that?
go.
Every week. Say my name, Sika. Say my name, Madam Sika. Say my name, Madam Sika. Say my name again and again.
So make sure you don't switch the channel this and every Saturday, because this is the only show to watch. It is
The Ladies Circle.
The Ladies Circle shows on Saturdays at 9 p.m. on TV3.
Brought to you by
8th March, all roads lead to the Legon City Mall for your favorite food event, the 3FM Gobe Festival. But that's not all.
Asante Kotoko SA versus Vision FC, live right here on TV3. The Ghana Premier League, it's more than...
I want to kiss him.
All throughout March, our screens and dials celebrate everything that makes us proud. Our shows, music, movies, festivals, history, traditions, and more. Welcome to a truly incomparable and totally immersive Ghana Month 2026. Ghana Month launches on all Media General platforms on Monday, 2nd March 2026 at 10 a.m. It's time to explore Ghana again. From 19th to 22nd March, join the Ghana Month Expedition. 3 regions, 4 days. Eastern, Ashanti, Central. We kick it off in Eastern region. Chocolate experiences, fresh farm fruits, Safari Valley lunch with zebras and exotic animals, Bonsu Eco Park for canopy walks and ziplining, and then party at the Rock City Hotel. Ashanti takes over.
In the last week, we have had to take the painful but necessary decision to revise the producer price of cocoa to achieve competitive pricing and resolve the acute liquidity challenges in the sector. Mr. Speaker, Failure to do this, as others did, and left a debt of 32 billion for this government to pay. Failure to do this would have meant borrowing billions in borrowed funds. Mr. Speaker, this unplanned expenditure would have taken us right back to the very devastating economic problem we have only recently begun to escape. So, Mr. Speaker, while fully understanding the concerns and protests of our farmers, I can firmly assure them that the reforms announced by government will see a total transformation of the cocoa sector. And it will guarantee them a fair and transparent price that enables them to meet the cost of producing the commodity and making decent margins. Mr. Speaker, the difference between economic hardship and avoiding the same is the exercise of sound economic judgment. And I'm determined to take decisions that ensure our collective well-being and avoid the suffering of all our citizens. These are difficult decisions to take, but Mr. Speaker, I had to take them.
Back from that quick break here on The Key Point on TV3. We're live on 3FM 92.7, also on TV3 Ghana on Facebook and on DSTV channel 279. We're all across the world on 3news.com. We're also on the Voice of London radio in the heart of the City of London and Voice of London television as well. Now, we set the pace with what the President said about these cocoa prices across the world. And this world market price of cocoa is what we've been keeping an eye on, at least for the past almost 3 weeks, if you have been following the poll tracker here on The Key Point. Now, when it comes to the current state of the cocoa economy, the President spent quite some time talking about what the state of affairs is with the cocoa prices on the world market and what this administration inherited. We had a clear conversation of how much of the past has influenced the present, and then also how much of this current administration's decisions have influenced what the cocoa farmers are having to be faced with now. Whether or not that decision to, as it were, have the cocoa farmers take a haircut of over 1,000 Ghana cedis could have been avoided, or government could have come through for the cocoa farmers, is one conversation that never seems to go on the table, because there are those who hold the view that government could have intervened, but on whose books? Because Cocoa Board's books don't look good. But take a look at this. The price of cocoa on the world market, unfortunately, has been tumbling downwards over the period, and it's not looking good at all. Last week, we were hovering a little over $3,000 a ton. Between May 2025 and today, that was as of yesterday evening around 9 p.m. when we checked on the Bloomberg terminal, the price of a ton of cocoa had dropped by some 73.5%. between May 2025 and now. In fact, around May last year, we saw that spike. But then, as we all do know, what the situation was, what we were confronted with between 2023, 2024, we had locked the prices of cocoa, and as a result, Ghana couldn't cash in. Now, cocoa is selling at $2,888 thereabout, and that's a ton on the world market. down from the 3,150 that we saw a week ago. So it doesn't look good. If you look at the projections as we are seeing now, it's quite troubling to say the least. Now, if you look at what is happening in Côte d'Ivoire, which has always been the reference point, as of the 13th of February, this was Ghana's situation. That is why the farmers, a section of them, have a different view of the path that government took. The price of cocoa, that's the 64 kg, dropped 2,587 Ghana cedis from 3,625. That's a 28.6 percentage points reduction, a little over 1,000 Ghana cedis haircut for the cocoa farmers. Government has justified that this was necessary, taking into consideration what's happening on the world market. Now, we're seeing something play out in Côte d'Ivoire. Since we reduced our prices to this one, 2,587 per bag, one of the objectives of the finance minister was to get buyers to now buy Ghana's cocoa, because Ghana's cocoa was quite expensive. That was one of the explanations given. Côte d'Ivoire went on the same path. Guess what? As we speak, Reuters news agency has reported that there's going to be a further reduction in the price of the 64 kg bag of cocoa in Côte d'Ivoire by some 64.3%. 64.3%. That's going to make it go lower than what we are even having here as a country. And that poses a different problem, because if Côte d'Ivoire goes on this path of reducing its cocoa prices by this much, they're going to go lower than Ghana. How does Ghana navigate this path of having their prices, as it were, also be competitive? Because it's a price competition. The buyers will go where the cocoa is cheaper. And we've seen quite some movement on the black market. Now, guess what? What is happening now between Côte d'Ivoire prices and Ghana prices? If you convert this 64,000 CFA to Ghana cedis, here's what it looks like. Now, if Côte d'Ivoire affects the prices that the Reuters news agency is reporting, this is going to be the picture. Ghana's 64 kg will, as it is now, 2,587. Côte d'Ivoire's 64 kg would now be 1,216 Ghana cedis. That means that Ghana's cocoa prices will still be, in terms of how much the farmer is getting for the 64 kg, it's going to be 1,371 Ghana cedis. That is where the competition conversation plays out now, and which of the cocoa farmers is best served in this particular instance. But as we speak now, this decision by government and the government of Côte d'Ivoire, this is going to be the picture as to how this price navigation would influence the objective of the finance minister is what we're going to look at. This is what Reuters put out just exactly 24 hours ago. Ivory Coast plans to bring forward the start of its cocoa mid-crop season for the first time ever, allowing the regulator to sharply reduce its set price, that's the set price paid to farmers, in hopes of boosting sales. Two government sources and two regulator sources told the Reuters news agency. Cocoa produced next month will now be classified as a mid-crop rather than main crop, and we'll get an explanation to that. And the price farmers are paid will be set at between 800 and 1,000 CFA francs. That's per kg sharply below the main crop price of 2,800 CFA franc. This is what the Reuters news agency is reporting. And this is what we reflect in our calculation this morning. And so if Ivory Coast does indeed go on the path that the Reuters news agency is reporting, then Ghana's cocoa farmer will be a little bit richer. But is that a justification for the path that government has gone on? That's the conversation that we'll have this morning. But this is the picture and how things look like. Beyond that, when it comes to the export earnings from cocoa, oil, and gold, clearly for the year 2025, gold did us a lot of good. In fact, it is gold that anchored the economy. And that's why the finance minister was quite confident this week when he outdoored government of Ghana's new plan of increasing our reserves to 15 months import cover. The confidence is that gold is going to be the anchor of this objective. This year, end of year, all things being equal, the finance minister says it's expected that it will build our reserves to 18 months import cover, and it's anchored on gold. Here's why. Gold brought in over $21 billion for the year 2025 alone. Massive. And we saw about $10 billion injected into the forex market to show up the value of the cedi. The sustainability of that particular decision is going to be a conversation that we would have this morning as well. Now, cocoa, which is the focus, brought in a little over $3 billion, almost $4 billion thereabout. And then crude oil, a little over $2.6 billion. With what is happening with cocoa right now, it clearly gives you an idea of how the end of year projections are going to look like. It's not going to look good because the price of cocoa on the world market has been trending downwards over time. What we're also learning is that the license buying companies, the LBCs, or some banks, they have gone to take money, borrow to buy beans. And the debt that they owe the banks is over $750 million, the LBCs. So they have to pay the banks, or else they're also having to face their own problems. This was also reported by the Reuters news agency and Bloomberg 2 days ago. We're going to get into the details of that. Samuel Medo, who's the president of the License Buyers Association of Ghana, is going to be joining us in a bit. We'll have a conversation as to exactly how the picture really looks like and how that is also going to play into the scheme of things as we're seeing right now here in this country. But let me welcome Martin Pibu, is private legal practitioner, and also Samuel Adimedo is the president of the LBCs Association, is connecting with us, and also Dr. Kabiru Tia Mahama is going to be joining us as well. It's just been made take his seat in a bit. He is a member of parliament for the Wale Wale constituency and an economist by training, and then also a former aide to the former vice president, flag bearer of the new Patriotic Party, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. He's going to be joining us in a bit. Professor Godfred Bobkin as well will be joining us to have a conversation this morning. Felix Kwachofosu is the minister in charge of government communications, and Abrasebo Kwamankesi, member of parliament, is going to be joining us as well and have a conversation this morning. But Council, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Mr. Galamsey. Yeah, it's good. It's good to be back here again on Ghana's #1 talk show, right? Unparalleled, uncontested, everything. And we are grateful to you, the good people of Ghana, for making this show the #1. Yeah, it's good. Let's continue to build it together because that's how our society should be.
Absolutely.
We are gaining strength, we are gaining momentum, and we are becoming savvier. So hopefully we will get there. And of course, that will make our politics better because then the politicians will be scared of us, knowing that we have a very vibrant, very savvy, very vigilant society. Mm-hmm. That's how to go about it. Yeah, so once again, this morning we want to thank our valiant, very strong citizens who stood up during the Kufuor's misgovernance. So #1, Togbe Afede. #2, Osi Adeyo Ajimabedu II. #3, Yasantua Sofe Kufu past Chief Justice, and of course, last but not the least, Galamsey, Kentucky Teku the second. And thank God for Galamsey's life. He was released from UGMC sometime last week.
True.
Yeah, I hadn't taken notice.
So this was exactly a week ago. Yeah.
Yes, and I saw the president had gone to visit him.
That's right.
That's good. That's good. So you see, society, the people who have power in Ghana, please, that's the point. Speak up, speak up. We can't continue to, look at only our stomachs and our wife and kids alone. That's not how to build society. No, Aristotle, Socrates, etc. That's not how they built their societies. They weren't looking at their stomachs alone. If you look at how Socrates was even killed, right? Yeah. You look at it, there was an opportunity to escape. I said, no, he's not escaping. He will stand for the truth. You say it. And I'm sure even the Bible, look at even Jesus Christ. So please, that's the message. Okay, of course, men above 40, once again, want to remind you, please do the prostate check. We don't want to lose you unnecessarily. And then those who urinate outside, we are coming for you. We are coming for you. Now, of course, finally, let's greet some of our special fans, the medical doctors, Dr. Amankwa, etc. You meet a lot of them and they keep saying, yeah, this show is the best. It's heartwarming. Yeah, a lot of big people in our society. Noche, the chief, Usumanche, etc. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Indeed. Thank you as well. And Mr. Samadumedo, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you very much for
my brother, and good morning, panelists. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah.
Before I introduce my other guests who have taken their seats right now, I want us to just get clarity on this. We saw the Reuters news agency report this news of the LBCs, owing some $750 million. You owe banks $750 million. And that is about 7.8 billion cedis, based on the report, impacting supply chain liquidity and the strain that is going to have on the harvest. And this banks group says that they are restructuring the debt and there's no immediate systematic threat. And this is the details as they put it. We're going to put it on the screen, as was reported by the Reuters news agency. Ghana's licensed cocoa buyers owe banks as much as $750 million. The association that represents them said, leaving the financial sector starved of cash for being purchases at a time when lenders are straining to recover from the country's deepest economic crisis in a generation. That's the Reuters news agency report. Is this the case? You owe the bank $750 million?
Yes. Good morning. Let me explain the process. If you look at the cocoa that the LBCs have delivered to Cocoa Board, and you want to put it in numbers, we've done about 34 billion Ghana cedis, and all with the banks, our local banks. So if we've done 34 billion Ghana cedis and now we owe the banks 7 to 8 billion Ghana cedis, then of course it is not, if you are in financing, it is not an issue that is so alarming. But what we need, as the banks have also indicated, is that we've done 34 billion Ghana cedis business with you within 7 to 8 months. And therefore, if we haven't retired this amount of money, obviously you need to relook at the numbers and then the debt structure. So the bank said they are going to review it, which is very good. So what I want listeners and the country to know that the LBCs have been doing significant and a silent but very important job in our economy, where we go to the banks, borrow, and then we move the cocoa from wherever it is. So it is not an issue of, let me put it, grumbling or panicking, that if, as the debt routers indicated, that we owe the farmers, it's not an issue of panicking. But of course, farmers are our prime concern. So the picture was to demonstrate that it is not a worse situation. The picture is also to demonstrate that we've come to a crossroad where we need to reform our cocoa sector and how we will run the cocoa from now onwards.
Morning.
So,
Yes, sir. You can bring it.
so yes, so it is good. Again, we have about 100. We have about 1,000 metric tons to move from the farm gate. That is, as we are getting to the end of the season, from now to end of September. So we need to also look at how do we get the liquidity, and therefore these presentation or this information would then enable policymakers, Cocoa Board, Ministry of Finance, and LBCs to come up with what strategy do we put in to ensure that we have a seamless cocoa activity till the end of the 2025-26 cocoa season. So again, it is not a panic situation. We've done 34 billion Ghana cedis business with the banks. So if you look at what are the benefits, therefore, it is important that we focus on how to address the challenges that have come up and then also prepare ourselves for the future. Now, I would like to also indicate that in the midst of all these cocoa challenges, there is a solution, and Cocoa Board and the technocrats working there, all of them knows. So we need to encourage them. We need to let them be bold, so that the solution, the right solution, is implemented within the LBC space. All that we need is a bailout where we get the money to settle the debt we owe the banks. We get the money to go to the field to move the rest of the cocoa. And this bailout does not necessarily need to sit in the balance book of Cocoa Board. Of course, if government cannot also come up with any money, as government has been helping the cocoa sector, there's a clear solution. We have partners that have been doing business with Ghana over 100 years in our cocoa industry. And these partners have also invested over the years. Therefore, it is a matter of meeting them, respecting them, dialoguing with them, and then coming up with a proposal that this is what we have on the table for a bailout to prepare for 2026-27 cocoa season. So the solution is clear. As again, let me repeat myself, it's not a panic situation. We can really come out of these challenges. Again, it is also important. If you look at, it seems there's like a price war on cocoa between Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire. So there's already an institution, Ghana Cote d'Ivoire Cocoa Initiative. We need to intensify that dialogue so that we avoid what one will prescribe as a price war between farm gate price war between Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire. Now, I also indicated that we've moved substantial part of the cocoa, which is at a good price of 58,000.
Yes, so that's the point I just painted. I wanted to get into exactly what challenge you think this will face. There are two things you've mentioned, but since you've got into the price war, and if Cote d'Ivoire goes on this path of reducing their cocoa to this much, what that means is that if this price of the 64 kg per bag remains here in Ghana, the Ghanaian cocoa farmer is going to be this better than the Cote d'Ivoire farmer in terms of the price of the 64 kg. But what challenge does it pose in terms of the buyer's preference? Because the buyer will go to where the bags are cheaper, is it not? The cocoa beans are cheaper, is it not?
Yes, let me explain and come to the buyers.
Quickly. Yes.
When this happens, it means more cocoa from Cote d'Ivoire will be smuggled to Ghana because Ghana has a better price.
Great.
Ghana cocoa quality is a premium, and therefore if more cocoa smuggles into Ghana, we lower the quality of our cocoa. And then also, when that happens, then the position that Ghana occupies as a high quality premium delivery cocoa country will be watered down. Again, as I indicate, we have just 70 to 100,000 tons of cocoa to be mobilized at the end of the season. What is going to happen is that we'll end up mobilizing 150 to 200,000 tons. And this cocoa that we are going to pay for at a high price means we are going to subsidize Cote d'Ivoire. And therefore, it is very important that we avoid this situation. Again, this is a farm gate price. So as this price war is also happening, this ostensibly price war happening, the terminal market is very sensitive. And therefore, when that happens, there's a likelihood that terminal price will continue to go down. So therefore, it is important that we strengthen or we utilize this Ghana Cocoa Cote d'Ivoire initiative to make sure that we avoid this situation. I'm not saying if Cote d'Ivoire price is going down, we should further reduce our prices, but we need to educate our farmers and the country at large that we are doing so well. Yes, we need to focus on the farmer, but at this juncture, it is better that we brace the storm, have patience, and then put our cocoa strategy in the best and then a promising pedestal come 2026-27.
Okay, but this you say the LBCs, you need a bailout so that you can pay your debt to the banks.
Correct.
And this obviously will have to come from government. So here's why I welcome Phyllis Kwachiofosu. He is the Minister in charge of Government Communications, Abra Sebo Kwamankasi, Member of Parliament. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Alfred.
Good. You heard some Ademado there. The bailout conversation is not even moving from the farmers to the LBCs. They say they also need a bailout because they owe the banks over $750 million, and they have to pay, right? So is it one that you're considering as well, especially because as for the farmers, they took a haircut. So then what's going to happen?
Then we need to find out how this debt came about, because cocoa beans are purchased. So the LBCs deal directly with the farmers, and often they take money from Cocoa Board to purchase, or sometimes they pre-finance, and then when Cocoa Board pays them, they as it were, reimburse themselves. So I am surprised about how this debt build-up came up. Perhaps I wasn't here when it began. So if he could reiterate how the debt came about. If it is a case that they are owed monies by Cocoa Board, it's just a matter of they being paid after Cocoa Board has raised funding to do so. I'm not able sitting here to discuss a bailout on behalf of government because it does not come before government for such consideration.
Perfect.
So I'll be interested to know how that debt came about.
Great. Now, Mr. Ademado, this $750 million, how did it come about? Just a quick explanation. No, unmute for me.
Yes, can you hear me?
Perfect.
Hello, yes. It's cocoa that we have delivered. Honorable, good morning.
Good morning, Chief.
You know, we've done substantial part of the cocoa mobilization, and we've done more than 500,000 metric tons that we deliver to Cocoa Board. So we continuously deliver, whether the cocoa is sold, money is received at Cocoa Board, and we continuously deliver. So as we move cocoa from wherever cocoa is produced to Cocoa Board takeover centers, the money that we use to mobilize the cocoa is mostly picked from the banks. And therefore, it is important that we have to go back and then meet the conditions of that facility. And this is what has brought out the outstanding money. And therefore, in order to make sure that we position ourselves and do a good job, that is why this bailout proposal has come in. Now, this bailout proposal does not necessarily need to come from the government or Cocoa Board. There are many ways out, and therefore, it is important that we present this position out. So Honorable, these bailout, as I've simply explained, is the outcome of our business, and therefore, yes, Cocoa Board continuously sells the cocoa. Cocoa Board, any money Cocoa Board gets now, Cocoa Board pays the LBCs, and they are continuously paying. The whole of this week, they've been paying, and therefore, it is important that we intensify that payment structure to make sure that we avoid challenges of paying so much interest. And I say, again, Honorable, when we go and borrow from the banks, we get the facility as any other business going to borrow from the banks. Meanwhile, our business is in a structure that to keep the farmer in a comfortable situation. So you don't vary the price you buy from the farmer because the farmer is far away from where you send the cocoa to, or you don't vary the transportation. Everything is fixed and regulated by Cocoa Board.
I see.
Therefore, if we borrow commercially from the banks, then any slight delay puts us in a very difficult situation. And our survival mode is embedded in efficiency. And therefore, there's always a peak where to what extent can you continue to be more efficient if the other side of the coin is not so. So that is why we have now used this opportunity to position and let everybody know that the reform that the Minister of Finance announced is indeed what we should focus on and make sure that we don't mix the boat. So I believe there's a way out. As I said, it's not a panic situation. There's a way out to make sure that we address the challenges that we are.
So yes.
It's pretty straightforward. Once Cocoa Board receives payments from the buyers, they will pay the LBCs and then they will be able to settle this debt. I'm not sure how the conversation about bailout fits in or where the bailout should come from, especially given our recent financial history. What it is that because of the adjustment we made to the price, substantial liquidity has come in.
True.
And indeed, the latest reports from Cocoa Board indicates that in the last few weeks or so, they've been able to advance up to 3.6 billion Ghana cedis to the LBCs to buy the cocoa beans that were stranded. Mind you, before the price adjustment, about 580 metric tons of cocoa had already been committed at the price that was fixed originally, 3,600 Ghana cedis per bag. And they were in the process of selling that and receiving funding from the buyers in order that they will be able to pay the LB. So the liquidity situation, as he himself has admitted, has improved substantially since the price adjustment. And it is no surprise that Côte d'Ivoire, that is presently suffering from low sales or a lack of interest from buyers because their price is perceived to be too high, is now seriously considering reducing the farm gate price in order that they will have liquidity to evacuate the cocoa that is stuck in the various warehouses. It is also precisely that reason that government has come up with a raft of reforms. What had happened, and sometimes we tend to overcomplicate the issues when they can be simplified. You see, since we started producing cocoa in colonial times, government then was the one that provided some limited funding to purchase cocoa beans from the farmer. Then, over time, the Bank of Ghana joined in. But it became apparent that that model was not sustainable because the funding was simply not adequate.
That's right.
Especially as the volumes grew over the years. So, since at least 1991, under the Rawlings regime, up until 2024, we have been doing what we call the syndicated loan. Essentially, a group of banks come together to advance monies to Cocoa Board to purchase the beans. Now, for Cocoa Board to do that, they have to, first of all, guarantee a certain level of production after their forecasts. And then commit sometimes up to 80% of the beans that they expect to get from farmers in the form of collateral to secure the syndicated loan. So that the banks have some safety net that in the event that Cocoa Board were to default, they can just call in these beans and sell them. When the money then comes, because in the past we relied heavily on cocoa to store up our forex reserves, it brings in roughly $1.8 to $2 billion per annum. So you recall that often around August, September, there is some reprieve for the local currency because we get this significant injection of forex. Once Cocoa Board receives that money, they give it to the Bank of Ghana, who gives them the CD equivalent, and then they pay the LBCs to go and pay farmers. The LBCs, in the meantime, would have engaged the farmers and taken the cocoa. Sometimes they do it, they advance money to the cocoa farmers, or they do it on credit, pending the receipt of funding from Cocoa Board. Now, again, the MPP completely destroyed our economy.
If you say they completely destroyed?
Absolutely, to the extent that because of the debt default or indication of sin, the syndicated loan was not forthcoming any longer. The banks didn't want to touch us with the long pole. So in 2024, they didn't get the syndicated loan. But who would advance you a loan when you have just declared default. As far back as 2022, you declared default. In other words, you told the whole world that you were no longer creditworthy and that if you were giving money, you could simply not pay. So the bank didn't want to deal with us. Indeed, the previous year, they technically defaulted on the loan that they took. But for a $70 million bridge finance they got from the finance ministry, they would have defaulted on the syndicated loan. The finance ministry gave them August and September to pay up that 70 million. They were unable to pay, and up to date, it still sits on their books as a debt. So, because of
the $70 million,
it was a bridge finance. What happened is they are going to take a syndicated loan. When it was time to pay, they had paid parts, but they were left with $70 million to pay. And they didn't have the money. And if they didn't pay by a certain date, they would have defaulted, which would have compounded our economic woes. Already, we had declared default before. Now, they went to the finance ministry to take a loan. The finance ministry says, okay, I'll give you 70 million, but by 31st August, pay up. They agree. Cocoa Board takes the money and then goes to pay off the outstanding syndicated loan debt.
Right.
When August came, they failed to pay. Indeed, there are letters in which the then finance minister, Dr. Amin Anta, wrote to Cocoa Board demanding payments. He then extended the duration by another month to the end of September. Cocoa Board still failed to pay. As I speak, they've been unable to pay. So if you have a financial situation like that, no bank will touch you. So in 2024, they did not get the syndicated loan. Then they said, okay, they were going to, in the face of the stack situation, we're not getting the syndicated loan. They were now going to beg buyers, because ultimately, when they take the beans, they sell it to buyers on the international market. Some of the buyers are local companies, the Olams of this world, and some of those who use it for domestic production. So what they then did was engage them and say that, oh, okay, give us between 60 to 80% of the money that you would pay for the beans. And let us buy the beans. Once we deliver, you give us the remainder, 20% or 40%, depending on how much you advance to us. So that was the model they were operating. They took these monies and committed to supply a certain quantity of beans. In the 2023-2024 crop season, they were unable to supply 333,000 metric tons of the beans. It was at that time that the price went to $12,000 per bag. And that was why we in the NDC were saying that if you are getting that much, then be fair to the farmer and give them at least 70% of the world market price. At that time, they had concealed that deficit of 333,000. They didn't tell anybody. We first got to know about it during the transition in January of 2025.
The 333,000
metric tons that they could not supply. We first got to know of it in the handing over notes during the transition in January 2025.
But monies had been taken for
that. They had committed, signed contracts with the buyers to supply it. So it then meant that in 2024-2025, we had to make up for that deficit. Now, the reason why the buyers still did business with us in terms of wanting to advance loans with that, to advance monies to us in 2024-2025, was that they had that 333,000 metric tons that they desperately needed. The Cocoa Board logged it in at $2,600. So, and at the time, 2024-25, the price had gone to up to $12,000, or let's even say $10,000. So it was lucrative for the buyer to get those 333,000 metric tons because they were going to make supernormal profits. But once we exhausted that deficit, indeed, by the end of 2024-25, we had supplied about 290,000 metric tons of it. So we were left with just about 70,000 metric tons or so. So we sustained the interest of the buyers in advancing money to us to buy because of this. But once we exhausted the deficit, they were no longer interested because they didn't really stand to gain anything. That is why when the crop season for 25-26 started, we were able to sell 580,000 metric tons. Then the world market price plummeted. When it plummeted, they said, now, when I go to Colombia or Ecuador or Brazil, I get it for cheaper. So I'm not going to buy it at this your price. That was when those 50 to 70,000 metric tons then got stuck in the warehouses and front. That was when the LBCs ran into difficulties and they could not pay. And then the cocoa farmers started agitating. Now, it was absolutely vital that we evacuated those beans. So there were two options. The first option was for government to go and borrow billions of Ghana cedis to add to our debts in a precarious financial situation bequeathed us by the MPP, who had defaulted on our debts and had destroyed our economy at the time. Or we do this adjustment to ensure that the price became competitive. In other words, compared to prices in other places. So then the buyers would have no option than to buy. And then in the process, inject liquidity to enable the LBCs pay the cocoa farmer. Government said, look, we have run deficits for several years. Indeed, Alfred, every time that we have gone into economic crisis, roughly in 8-year cycles, it is because of deficits that we run. In 2020, they ran a deficit of 15%. That is what triggered the collapse of this economy. And therefore, no responsible government will continue to incur debt that we cannot pay and end up impoverishing all 34 million of us simply because we want to avoid some political backlash. So the best option was to do a reduction such that the farmer receives a fair price that enables them to recover the cost of producing the cocoa and getting a decent margin to look after themselves and their families. Of course, if you were expecting 3,600 and you get around 2,600, they are definitely going to be disappointed. But the price they are getting does not make them operate at a loss. If it was the case that, for instance, they were producing a bag for 3,000 cedis, that's what it cost them to produce a bag, 3,000 cedis, and we're paying them 2,580. So then clearly they are running at a, and that one will be unsustainable, and then government would, by all means, have to support them. So yes, the money we are paying now is not what was agreed previously, but it is necessary to do this adjustment to save this economy. When we did that, and as your guest can attest, money has become available because the buyers are coming. Some of them are domestic producers, others are foreign buyers. And the money has come. 3.6 billion has gone. More will go. Indeed, Côte d'Ivoire, that did not do what we did initially, now has found itself in a very tight situation that as I speak, I'm sure in the coming days, they will announce a new producer price, which is lower than what they are. In fact, because that is the only way, Alfred. That is the only way. Reuters is good. So now it defeats all the propaganda that the MPP is engaged in. Because they are made propaganda too. Because our Côte d'Ivoire was protecting their farmers, they didn't reduce. Now that has happened, if what you are saying is to be believed, what are they going to say? So you see, the difference between us, and yesterday President Obama said it, you see, when you are in the country, the decisions you take must be in the overall interest of the country. Often we, and indeed the MPP, the reason why they found themselves there is that they were looking at an upcoming election in 2020. So they spent as if there was no tomorrow. Money that they did not have. If we don't avoid that situation, we will come back to the same situation that God has blessed us to get out of in the last 1 year or so. So it is important that we understand this conversation very well. When you entrust a government with resources and a mandate, that government must utilize it in a way that benefits all of us and does not endanger all of us. What the MPP is proposing will send us back into that
the proposal of a bailout, some sort of support for the farmer, so that instead of the farmer taking this, because you talk about the operational loss, but then there are some other losses that the farmer would have experienced with this reduction of over 1,000 Ghana cedis.
Already, even by giving the farmer, and let us put it on record, we in the NDC promised 70% of the world market price. So whatever world market price we come to meet, we are going to give 70%. Indeed, when we announced the producer price of 3,600, it was 70% of the world market price at the time, was it not? Now we are giving 90%, we've gone 20% better. The reason why we did that is that we wanted to cushion the farmer a bit. There were at least 4 scenarios. You understand me? Now to give 90%, government has had to cough up close to 2 billion Ghana cedis to make up for the debt, because when you give 70% of the producer price to farmers, the remaining 30% is what you use to take care of the other stakeholders, including the LBCs that my good friend here represents. Because they also have to make their margins. You have to buy fertilizer. You have to buy pesticides. You have to pay staff. You have to pay the agricultural extension officers who do all of this. That is what the 30% takes care of. And then there's a little margin left to come to the national kitty. That is actually why cocoa is important to Ghana. But by giving 90%, it means that it has eaten into government finances by 20%. If you absorb all the costs, you are getting close to billions of Ghana cedis that you simply cannot afford. So this price, Alfred, must be emphasized. It's not below, or it's not below the cost of producing a bag of cocoa.
Well, but then again, it's into the profit of the farmer.
No, of course. So Alfred, so this item, you want to buy it for 10 cedis. If you manage to sell it for 50 cedis, you get 40% profit. So you get 40 cedis profit. So you get your 10% cost and then 40% margin, right? However, if you sell it for 25 cedis, you have a 15% margin. It is not 40%, but you have not lost. You understand me? Right. But if you go and buy for 10 cedis and you sell it for 5 cedis, you clearly have lost. That one is not sustainable. Then the farmer will go into hardship, which would require some form of intervention. But we've not got into that place as we speak. So it is imperative that we understand this. Sometimes political opportunism, and populism gets governments to act contrary to the interests of the country. And President Mahama has said, and like he said, as president, he is determined to avoid the pitfalls of the past. The pressures that the MPP could not withstand must be withstood today so that the perennial economic crisis that has unleashed hardship. Look, when they put us in the crisis that they did, Alfred.
Run out for me quickly.
The effect was devastating. What was the result? Alfred, since you started following Ghanaian politics, in the many years that you've practiced journalism, when have you ever heard that pensioners have had to picket to demand money that is theirs? You have the clip of Kama, don't you? Mr. Ajekum Ado,
the late,
who passed away just before the elections. This was a wealthy man by every standard. In fact, I encountered him in Switzerland about 13 years ago. And he took me through how he rose to become who he was. The man himself stands on the platform and says that because of government policy and how deleterious it has been to the economy, he now struggles to pay overheads. His own words were that may brew. So if Kama, somebody as wealthy as that, can profess to suffer, you can imagine. Look, when the pensioners were picketing at the finance ministry, there was one day where a woman came with 2 children who were mentally challenged. The only way that this woman could look after these mentally challenged children was through the proceeds of their bonds. The MPP woke up and told them one day that the agreed repayment date had been extended by many years, and the interest that people relied on to live their lives was also going to be slashed significantly to their detriment. We cannot go back to that era by taking decisions that are not economically prudent.
Right.
You understand me? Indeed, we have been borne out by the situation in Cote d'Ivoire now. Now they see that it is the right course of action to take. Otherwise, that economy will crash. And we don't
the
want
situation in Cote d'Ivoire has been a point of reference since I started this conversation this morning. But here's where I welcome Dr. Kabiru Tia Mahama. He is the Member of Parliament for the Wale Wale constituency and a former economic advisor to the former Vice President and flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Dr. Kabiru Tia Mahama, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Alfred. And good morning to my colleagues on the panel.
A lot of the
viewers, especially the good people of Wale Wale.
Perfect. A lot of what Phyllis Kwachev, the Honorable Phyllis Kwachev also has been talking about, directed at you, and decisions that were taken. In fact, cocoa was central to your message yesterday. You carried some cocoa to Parliament. You had one.
Yeah, so once again, I want to say thank you. First and foremost, we need to acknowledge that we are in February 2026. We are not yet in January 2025. And that these high hills that the government is so on, they have to come down from that high hills or those high hills. And that to still be blaming a government that you had taken over from in the past 12 months to speak to a lack of solutions to the problem. In any case, let's be granted that the MPP caused the problem on the basis of which you were voted into power. You have no business coming to look Ghanaians on the face when you profess to the whole country that you have what it takes to rescue the country. In any case, you told us you will run the economy aground. Yet you are telling us today that you have been able to rescue the economy. Why can't you rescue the cocoa sector? So this duplicity and double standard in the measures they use to even judge their own competence is mind-boggling, because you told us that the economy was run aground, you were able to rescue it, but a sector of the economy, which is cocoa sector, you've not been able to rescue it, and you are still blaming, sending the roses to where it doesn't, and actually sending maybe the grass to somewhere it doesn't belong. Look, this government made a clear promise to farmers based on their understanding of the cocoa sector. And when you made the promise that you're going to give farmers 6,000, 7,000 Ghana cedi per bag, you were clear in your promise. Now, you were also not, you were using the existing exchange rate at that time to make your calculation. That when Forex was not doing so well, it is sometime to the 14, sometime to the 13. You were using that. But when you even came to power, you used your Bank of Ghana rate, which was not even up to the 70% that you promised. Because if you are going to give farmers dollar, give them the dollar equivalent, let us use the prevailing market rate of the exchange rate to determine what you can buy. Because when the LBCs are going to buy the dollar, they don't use the Bank of Ghana rate. They use the commercial bank rates. So you cannot hide under numbers and try to say that what you are giving. In any case, if a government is telling me that 5% is better than 10%, and then 3,500 is better than, 2,500 Ghana cedi is better than 3,600 Ghana cedi, it tells you the kind of analysis they are doing with this particular problem. Look, you created a problem. The problem is that the cocoa sales are forward sales. And we all know, even Randy, as the chief executive officer, professed so many solutions. I sat on TV and he was the host, claiming to know the solution, highlighting the forward sales of cocoa and said that there was no reason why you'll be making a commitment into the future, prices are determined, and then you are still making losses. Yet, we had a formal sale for a particular season. You decided to lock the goods down, thinking that prices were going to increase because the projection was that prices will increase. You end up not selling as many as 70,000 tons. That is basically going to be a cost to you.
The 70,000, was it not part of the 333,000 that you had already committed?
And I'm saying that if they had committed it, they would have picked it at that particular period. It did not to be there. If they had committed it, and they had committed it to the forward sales, then it wouldn't have been a problem and locked down in their warehouse because you have committed the prices and the prices is forward. Agreement is an agreement. So it cannot be true that you said that the 70,000 were part of the goods that you committed to for the forward sale and that prices were determined with your off-taker for that particular sales. Then when prices plummeted, the off-takers are saying they will not take it. It cannot be true because once you agree on the price, but the incompetence of that decision was the fact that they were predicting, they were hoping that prices of cocoa would increase further. And when it started declining, they were still hopeful that it is going to. And that caused them to have as much as 70,000 tons of cocoa not being able to be sold. And you come back to tell us that, MPP government ran down the cocoa sector, syndicate. In any case, we know that in 2024, there was no advances, if any, loan, because cocoa board loan was considered as part of contingent liability on the state. So if the state cannot take money, cocoa board invariably cannot take money. Okay,
but that was the consequence of a situation from 2022
I'll come to that situation. I'll come to that situation. Now, we are not running. We've litigated on several platforms of the problems.
Right.
In that the causes of that crisis is well known and is open secret, and that the president himself on international platform has admitted to those particular causes. Now, we told you that, one, you left financial sector, which was in delirious situation. We had to come and clean up that sector. That cost us over 30 billion Ghana cedi. You left energy sector payment, which we had to work on, which cost us a lot of money. You left the, the COVID-19 came in, which we had to spend to protect lives, which we had to spend in order to give nurses respite, which we had to spend in order to give so many people protection, which we were very clear that it was going to come at a cost to the fiscals. We were very clear on that. The president stated clearly that was going to cost us the fiscal. The German chancellor also mentioned clearly that, look, I will do whatever it takes to protect life, but I hope you will not come back to be telling me or asking about the fiscals. So when there's any crisis, you expect government to intervene, assuming there's no lives that can be quantified to the economic loss. Every single life, I think, in my opinion, is more better than any economic loss that we have suffered. So we know the history. Now, when in this public platform, he once I say that, it is okay to give farmers haircut because it eats into their profit. It is not their capital. On the same token, on the same measure, on the parity of reasons, on the same yardstick, it is not okay to give investors who are earning interest on their investment when the economy is in crisis for you to give them a haircut. You see the double standard. That on one side, you think that it is not okay to give haircut to bond holders, to pension fund holders, whose investment are earning them some income, and that because of the crisis, the government should not do anything about that. But it is okay for government to go and cut the earnings of cocoa farmers. These are the things, and this is what happens to us is the politics. The politics of choosing and picking which one is right when you are in government or which one is wrong. Look, as a minimum, I believe that when there is a crisis, a government will have to take a decision. Either one, to absorb the crisis and let the macro-fiscal go off, or to transfer the crisis to the people. Government and the decision they are willing to take. One, if you decided to say that in 2026, 2027 crop year, cocoa farmers had the same situation that we are facing now. The same 8-year cycle that he mentioned that we have commodity crisis. I mean, there's going to be like, for this commodity price, for every 8 years, there's bound to be, or there's likelihood to be that particular crisis. In 2027, the same thing happened. But the government did not go around blaming the NDC for the crisis that they left. The government did not go around trying to push blames. The MPP government took the responsibility and safeguarded the farmers by protecting their guaranteed prices. It came at a cost, of course. But it was a conscious decision we took to protect the farmers. If you are not doing the same and you are justifying that, it's okay to justify because every government and its economic policy. But it is not okay for you to tell us that there's nothing that the government can do about the situation. And that the only way for you is to transfer the burden, part of the burden to the farmer. In any case, you are making comparison with a hypothetical situation in Cote d'Ivoire. Cote d'Ivoire has announced their price, which is far more than the price we are giving farmers. When they announced, we told them that, look, farmers are likely to smuggle their goods to Cote d'Ivoire to sell.
So this situation that we just painted in Cote d'Ivoire is not one that is of consideration to you.
No, I'm coming. You are using hypothetical
this
situation.
This is what is being reported.
No, you are using hypothetical. It's been reported. What we know as a fact.
This particular difference.
No, what we know as a fact is that Cote d'Ivoire, the Cocoa Council in Cote d'Ivoire has issued a statement stating their price. This is what you are contemplating. If it comes, then Cocoa Board also maintains their price because the price has reduced further. And they also maintain their prices, which is supposed to be in October or so. Okay, then we can then be doing the analysis. But what we know is that Ghana reduced its prices by giving a haircut of 1,000 Ghana cedis to the farmers. Cote d'Ivoire decided to maintain their prices for their farmers. And they even issued a directive to the effect that if anyone is found flouting that particular minimum price rule, the person will be prosecuted. So until such time that Cote d'Ivoire comes with any haircut, we cannot be arguing with conjecture. We cannot be using assumptions to be. I'm saying that nothing has taken effect because Reuters is reporting that it's likely to set in. Nothing has taken effect. That's what they give me any evidence.
From next month, not in October.
So whatever it is, but they have to announce it. They have to now. The council has not announced anything as of now. So we shouldn't be doing conjecture. You cannot say that. Even people are predicting. Industry players are predicting that Cocoa Board is likely to further cut the prices because of the further reduction in prices. So do we say that by that cocoa farmers has reduced the prices? We cannot say that. So for me, let's stay true to the facts. The facts are that Cocoa Board is giving farmers a haircut of 1,000 Ghana cedi. You say it is okay to give those farmers that haircut, but it's not okay for farmers, for investors who are any interest to be given haircut when there's a crisis. That is your standard. Again, this government would always come to you and say, oh, this economy, and I think that maybe there's a different platform we'll talk about the economy because I saw the topics you've sent to us. That's why I'm resisting the temptation to respond to the factors, issues raised with respect to the economy. But on the cocoa issue, it is purely a self-inflicted situation. The government made politics with cocoa. They made the whole world to understand that cocoa farmers were worse off under the MPP. They took a decision, a deliberate decision, and they mounted podiums to speak bad about the protection and even the policies the MPP was putting in place to protect the farmers. Now that we are in 2026, 1 year down the line, they are trying to rationalize, they are trying to wash away, they are trying to let the farmer understand that, well, 2,587 Ghana cedi for the bag is better than 3,625 Ghana cedi for the bag. Who in his elementary analysis would even come to the contemplation and acceptance of same that if I'm taking 3,625 and that someone is taking 2,500 as the price of cocoa for the bag, the person who is taking the 2,500 is better than the person who is taking the 3,600. I'm not sure anyone would come to such a conclusion.
You mean there's 2,000, if you say that 2,500 thereabout, as against the 3,600?
That's the point. I'm saying that 2,500 over 3,600, that's the point I'm making. They're the same thing.
It's just a matter of communication and clarity. So that's 2,000, yes. This is what you're talking about, these two. But then again, I'll come to you. Sorry, you respond to a number of the issues. Matic Bebo as well. Let me acknowledge the presence of Professor Godfrey Popkin. He is a professor of finance at the University of Ghana Business School. Prof, I'm going to come to you in a bit, but good morning. Thank you very much for joining us. Now, it's just a background. But you see, Dr. Kabir, you referenced what led to this situation. For you, the option would have been government coming through to cushion the cocoa farmer instead of passing on part of the burden. In 2017, there was a crisis situation that we're faced with. How much of the world market price were you paying to the cocoa farmer at the time as compared to what is happening now?
I'm saying that I can't give you the exact percentage. I'll be lying if I say I can go back to history to tell the percentages. And to say that what I do know is that cocoa prices are determined for the season in collaboration with the farmers.
Right.
Whatever was agreed. And even before that, before even 2026, 2020, even 2016, 2017, it was already been determined. Right? So I will not be able to go into history to tell you how much of it was paid to them. I'll be lying to you.
Okay.
But what I do know is that the agreed price, which agreed price farmers had no issue with, was paid to them. And even when the prices reduced, government still took a decision to maintain the prices to protect the disposable incomes of the farmers. That is the point that we all admit that it is true, it did happen, the government protected them, and the government could have, or this government could have protected them on the same token.
I asked the same question of Felix Kwachofoso earlier. I think you were seated by him when I asked that question about that option of a bailout which you proposed, which has been your position.
Before I listened to the LBs, produced by buying company or
the license buying companies,
yes. And they mentioned about a bailout. And their bailout is in respect of the bills that they have delivered to Cocoa Board, for which Cocoa Board ought to have paid them.
Yes.
Cocoa Board has not paid them. Meanwhile, they took loan from the banks to finance these purchases from whatever they gathered those particular cocoa beans from, i.e. from the farmers. That is their argument. And that argument, they are again mentioned, I listen to this, it could either come from the banks, and that the banks are forthcoming. The banks probably by renegotiating their attempt to say that, okay, we admit that we are in frustrating events, and that those frustrating events or probably their force measure, that craft, it is affecting whatever you have earned. So we'll cut down the rates for you. That is one bit of the bailout. Another bit is for government to come and say that, well, look, you need to protect the buyers because you took our beans. You didn't sell them. You had about 70,000 tons in your trade. You should have sold those. If you had sold that, it would have actually offset the financial difficulties we have had. So it is your responsibility because we deliver the beans to you at a particular price. Right. And I think that the license buying companies have not got any problem because they buy at the prevailing market rate. And they have to sell based on those particular contracts. If it is any point of difference that there's a time lag between the time they bought and the time they sell, and that the prices changes while the goods are still in their hands without any contract, then you can tell them they are liable. But once they have got contracts and they are buying at a price, the price has not reduced, and they are selling, they must sell to at least break even. They cannot sell at a loss. So where the inefficiency is coming from is on the part of the Cocoa Board, and they have to pay. And government, by extension, will have to pay them.
I see. This situation that you referenced to why farmers are having to take this 28.6 percentage point reduction from the 3,625. When I asked the same question about that option of a bailout, the reference was made to some decisions that were taken which were inherited. So, for instance, the 333,000 tons that you, and if I say you, I'm talking about the administration that you served in, had already signed contracts with buyers as per the forward sale that you were engaged in. And as a result, you could not deliver which became a burden for this administration to carry, has also influenced the financials of the Cocoa Board and by extension government. Reason why the bailout may not be a good option. That's what, according to Phyllis Kwacho Fosu, influenced this decision that would rather want to go on this path. So if you had decided to rather sell this 333,000 at that over $10,000 a ton at the time, as against the over $2,000 that you had locked the price on, the farmer would have been better off, is it not?
I'm saying that analysis is problematic. It's
Why is
problematic
that?
because cocoa prices, in fact, the last cocoa board never withheld any cocoa deliberately from the sale to the off-takers because of any other problem. The only time is that if they don't have money, which they couldn't access, in order to finance the purchases of the beans, you have nothing to sell. You have nothing to sell when you can't even get the money to buy. So if the beans were locked up and they are in the country, you cannot say that, oh, well, there was cocoa, you should have sold it. You need to pay the farmers. You need to pay the farmers. And I told you that we all admit, no one is running from the fact that there was a difficulty with the economy. And the genesis of that difficulty we've all mentioned. We've told that the government has taken the ultimate responsibility and the ultimate fault for that difficulty. You cannot come back in 2026 and still be sitting on the same horse, wanting Ghanaians to believe and to accept that because of someone's problem, when you promise the people that you are going to fix the problem, and that on the basis of they gave you the mandate. Fixing it, you have taken credit that, oh, you have, even when we are reminding you that some of the things you are getting in terms of achieving the economy, they were a basis for it. You said, no, we shouldn't say that. You brought in everything. But if there's one sector that is not doing well, you want to turn and blame the different government. I saw that duplicity very interesting. And I think that we should, if we are taking responsibility, let's take absolute responsibility. And I remember in the midst of this digression, civic stability, I told them, look, if it's okay, let's give the government full responsibility. If it is depreciated, we'll give them full responsibility. But you cannot pick and choose. If you are picking and choosing, then let's attribute where the previous government has done well and the way they have not done well. And if we are making progress, we can also attribute same. But you cannot decide to say that when it is doing well, I am the one doing well. But if it is doing bad, the previous government, blame the previous government for whatever is happening.
Right. Professor Godfrey Bokken, I'll come to you. Prof, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Perfect. I know you've been following the conversation. Good morning. Yes, and just to give the apology on your behalf, Professor Godfrey Bokken was to join us in the studio. There's an emergency situation he's had to deal with, and so we're having to do with the option of the virtual connection. But Prof, it's good to have you join us this morning. But you've been listening to the conversation.
And good morning to our cherished viewers and listeners.
Perfect. On both sides of as to why the current state of affairs of the cocoa sector is as we speak. The focus has been on the farmer, and it was central to the minorities' message as we saw the cocoa that they took to Parliament. The President was quite clear in his words that this was a difficult decision that had to be taken, and pleaded with the cocoa farmers. We're looking at what's happening in Côte d'Ivoire because it has a direct bearing of, even if we're looking at the analysis of the situation here in Ghana. The point is, could any other alternative have been the case as against this haircut that the farmer is taking, which has actually been the central focus of this decision that government has taken? Not so much about having the cocoa sector survive, but also this haircut. Prof.
Okay, thank you very much. And good morning. It's an interesting development. For me, I'm not surprised. If you look at our approach towards the cocoa sector in the last 5-6 years, especially with the rise in gold production, especially from artisanal small-scale miners, and the world gold price, and then the FX-related inflows from gold alone, driven largely by artisanal small-scale miners, the strategic role of cocoa in our economy within the national framework has been declining, whether we like it or not. It's very obvious. In terms of the strategic importance of cocoa to reserve build-up as a buffer to the stability of the cedi, the focus has shifted. It's not only just this government, the previous administration, you could see it clearly. And how we handled the cocoa sector, the debts, the how we treated farmers, the crime, the threat of illegal mining, we left them. We left them because unlike some decades ago, where cocoa was so fundamental to the strengthening of our local currency in terms of foreign exchange and the rest of them, the same is not true now. If you look at gold-related inflows in terms of FX in the last 6-7 years, and you compare that to cocoa and the rest of them, clear. So what is happening now? It's actually years of neglect of the fact that the way we saw cocoa from independence and afterwards and its strategic importance today, they are not the same. And that is the fact. Of course, there are a lot of factors that have contributed to this, and I believe that both political parties have to take responsibility. I do not have a formula for sharing the blame, but I think that I've told you in the last 6-7 years, you can look at the trend analysis and the strategic role of cocoa and how we have treated cocoa farmers and all of that. I mean, in the face of illegal mining and all of that, clearly, the strategic importance of cocoa is not like the way we saw it in the time past. We were comfortable. In fact, it looks to me in 2025 and all the way to 2026, even 2024, that we could make do largely without cocoa-related effects, inflows. We could make do without it. Of course, if you look at the world price, it has played a role. Other countries are also entering the international cocoa market who were not traditional producers. There are options today and all of that. So we saw this. Government saw this several years ago. The question is cocoa sector still that strategic to us? So that we look at what other countries are doing, measures they are putting in place, the diversification and all of that, so that we also put some kind of intervention, some strategic plan that allows us to remain competitive in that sector, or there's a shift towards gold because we are getting the effects. After all, what is the cocoa sector, what was it supposed to do? Largely contribute to our reserve build-up and all of that and the other related benefits. But we are getting that largely from gold and the rest of them. Then again, the other thing to also look at here is it has to do with the aggressive strengthening of the local currency in 2025. Okay, so if you look at the entire value chain, from the world price, from the exchange rates, Bank of Ghana's official exchange rate and all of that, it was going to be very difficult to put your money in this sector and at the end of the value chain make profit. It was going to be very difficult. And I'm sure that was the difficulty. In fact, our baseline analysis tells us that government would need something in excess of 18 billion cedis if we had to rescue the sector. The question was whether this is debt for us to accumulate in the face of severe austerity measures that government is implementing to reduce our debt stock. Our debt to GDP ratio, remember, is around 45%, even though in amended Public Financial Management Act, we have pledged to do 45% by 2034 or earlier. We are there now. Remember that government had promised to do a primary surplus of 1.5% of GDP in 2025. They did actually 2.6%, right, of GDP, more than what they themselves had projected. This is very severe austerity. Remember, to shrink your expenditure relative to revenue by even 1% of GDP has implications for growth quality growth, quality infrastructure in the economy. So in the face of this severe austerity, I'm sure government considered that this is not debt, this is not bailout worth putting on our books. And therefore, let's pass it on to the farmer. The other bit also is that I believe that, yes, looking at the balance, government may have a point and all of that. Remember that we neglected cocoa farmers, not today. We neglected cocoa farmers, not today. Okay, so of course, this looks a bit hard on them, given that government had agreed a price with them, right? And probably many of them would have also taken a facility and locked in that rate, and they're looking at output that they can get, and probably and all of that. So, but the question also is, government saw this way back. I believe that government could have managed this, or the intervention could have been much earlier, rather than allowing it to crystallize at a point where probably a cabinet or so had to take a decision and all of that, and communicate this to farmers, because we saw it coming and all of that. So I think the management of it, there are development there that are beyond the control of government. The question is whether we should step in and absorb this cost, or we rather save this money and use it in other development spending and all of that. But I think government waited too long, and I also think that we've left farmers on their own, and it's not that good. I wish government could have, or the communication and all this arrangement could have been done much earlier, because we saw it coming. It's not like we suddenly woke up one day and started producing cocoa. We've been producing cocoa for so many decades and all of that. We know the seasons, we know the world price, even if you want to look in to the futures market and all of that. So I believe that that aspect takes a lot from the government reset agenda, and the fact that the poor farmer had to go through this. Well, it's not just. It didn't just happen last year. I mean, this is years. We saw this coming long ago.
Already, hearing Phyllis Kwachofosu speak, says government has already had to cough up over $2 billion to make up for what the price that is being offered the farmer now. Taking into consideration the price of the commodity, that's cocoa, on the world market, which has been trending downwards for a while now. And commodity pricing obviously has to do with the dynamics on the world market. Unfortunately, we don't have that right to decide on how much we're going to price our cocoa domestically. We'll continuously reference what's happening on the world market, and then what's happening in our neighboring country, that's Côte d'Ivoire as well. All of that has fed into what we are seeing now. Could there have been any other alternative? Because the commodity is losing some significant value, price-wise, on the world market, is it not?
Yes, Alfred, I agree with you. I agree with you. I mean, but the other thing to also take note, that what we are experiencing here goes beyond just the world market price. You should know that if in a single year, right, your currency strengthens by 40.7% against the dollar, is that okay? There is no way you can go around this cycle and even break even, given the world price where it has come to, and then also given the strong appreciation of the cedi. And as I indicated, and I've said this on your network one too many, that I have a bit of reservation about the strong or the aggressive strengthening of the currency, that perhaps it's been too aggressive. And if you look at that in relation to so many other factors and the severe austerity which has shrunk aggregate demand to a large extent, we've seen prices come down significantly. In fact, inflation is at 3.8%, very, very low. In fact, lower than the lower band of the central bank. Bear in mind, Alfred, that this economy doesn't have the productive capacity to sustain low inflation for long. We don't have that. Okay? So the biggest problem in our economy is that the economy's supply capacity is severely restrained. And therefore, if you look at from austerity, fiscal austerity, monetary tightening, in bringing prices down significantly, like the way we have done, and it is not driven by increased production or supply, aggregate supply, to sustain that is going to be a challenge, because you cannot continue to tighten the fiscal side and then tighten the monetary side just to keep prices low. You have to grow your economy. You have to create decent jobs and all of that. So that is where we are now, transition. So it's not just the world price. Let's bear in mind, we are also talking about aggressive strengthening of the currency, because when you sell at this world price, by the time you come and convert it at Bank of Ghana's exchange rate and all of that, you are going to end up with losses. It's not only just the cocoa sector. There are other exporting firms, that the aggressive strength of the currency would set or have impaired their balance sheet as well. So those are the dynamics and all of that. I recognize the genuine effort of government and all of that, but I also felt that government could have been a bit proactive, because they saw this coming, and all those dynamics, rather than just, I think they waited too long and all of that.
I see, and that's one question that Felix Kwachofoso will answer about proactivity and government waiting for too long. But people, this particular development, taking into consideration the fact that, yes, you had acknowledged that the farmer is taking a hit, which is one that cannot and should not be countenanced in any way. But then again, what option did government have apart from this? This 28.86 percentage point reduction. Council.
Yes, I think you see, this thing, Kabiru has come to repeat what do you call, the MPP did here last week. Maybe you didn't follow Kabiru. No. What data do you have? Have you spoken to cocoa marketing company that they had the 70,000 metric tons of cocoa in their warehouse and didn't sell? That's what we call the janda.
No.
CMC.
He himself has admitted on this show that it's not an issue of contention. Even Felix is saying that they left 60.
They didn't leave.
Okay, gentlemen, hold on.
You can play
because
you cannot watch the government.
Hold on.
It is not your duty to watch. Even on public record, you can fact check. I'm saying that go to your Google and fact check. I'm saying that on record, the 70,000 tons that were left unattended to have never been disputed. So if you say that you are fact checking me, if you say fact checking me, you can go ahead and fact check and tell the source of where the one was left.
Yes, you referenced something that he said. Hold on.
I've referenced what he said. Yes.
You referenced. Nobody buys all the cocoa in one day. Thank you. So the LBC starts.
Oh, and you were talking about rollover.
Hold on, gentlemen. I want to hear.
Your propaganda is not sinking.
Relax. I want to hear what you reference.
There's a season.
Something that
there's a season for purchasing cocoa. So that's what they call the crop season.
Yeah.
So nobody buys the cocoa in one day. So, and you are talking about tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of metric tons of cocoa. Yeah. So the LBCs begin buying at a certain time in the year. I think it's August, September or so. So they begin to buy until they exhaust all the cocoa that is available. So they began to buy at the agreed 3,600. At the time they began to buy, the price on the world market per ton was at a certain level. By the time they had purchased up to 580,000 metric tons, the price plummeted. So what was left to be bought was no longer attractive to those who were coming to buy. So because they speak about forward sales, there's also a forward buyer. So the person buying also looks at the market and checks the price regularly. So if they get to a point where they see that the price is not competitive, they move to another market. But this lie that they peddle, that Cocoa Board decided that they won't sell and that they locked the cocoa beans in a certain way, as it's not true.
In anticipation of a price surge?
Look, it's a narrative by the MPP to justify the business claim. Number two, he was trying to defend this lie. You see, he was trying to defend this lie. He was trying to defend this lie by saying that, okay, then why are we complaining about a rollover? What happens is that Cocoa Board projects every year how many tons of cocoa they are going to get. They have a technical division that does that, filled with experts. But you see, normally it is possible or acceptable to have a slippage of about 15%. So for instance, you project that, we'll do 1 million metric tons next crop season. Then you do about 850,000 tons. But the slip they had in 2023-2024 was 45%. It is not acceptable. It meant that they were sleeping on the job. They were the ones exhibiting hopeless incompetence.
Of what? 45%?
Because they did close to 800,000 metric tons or so that year. And then you had
about 350,000 metric tons.
It was not 350.
Is it 333,000?
It's okay, I'll come.
No, listen.
I'll come to the
It was
numbers.
around
It's okay.
333,000.
It was around 300.
Oh, that is what it was.
I'll come to the numbers.
Please. It was 333,000 metric tons. By 24-25 crop season, we have sold about 298,000. Indeed, we have delivered it to those they have signed a contract with at a locked-in price of 2,600 metric tons. $2,600 a ton. That is what had happened. So this often repeated lie that Cocoa decided that they were going to pack the cocoa in some warehouse and throw the key into the sea is not true. Pending a rise in the market, but it's not true. They were in the middle of selling, as we do every year when the price plummeted. Also, you asked the question about how they treated the cocoa farmer. They went to sell.
I was actually going to.
Okay, hold on. I've answered this question.
He referenced something that you said for the clarity.
I said that.
Look, I'll come so that. Hold on.
You mentioned me.
You give opportunity.
Precisely. I'm going to go to you on that.
No, Mr.
I just intended to clarify because you referenced
the main point.
Hold on.
Kabiru said we sat on the 70,000 metric tons, and I'm saying that Kabiru. Show us the warehouse where the 70,000 metric tons was warehouse. Show us that warehouse where you saw it. You just come and, yes, go ahead.
All right, so the person just told you they deliver cocoa to the licensed buyer company. Just told you on this platform, if you were listening, told you they deliver it. Those goods are with them. They have not been paid for.
Oh, no,
I just told you. Even if you were not listening, you would have heard him.
Let me explain. You have heard him. He's told you that it gets delivered in bits. It's not a one-day event. So when he says they delivered, he's not talking about that 70,000. Look, I have here.
What was it talking about?
Mr. Okansi, maybe we should raise Mr. Wisdom Dogby, the MD of
Cocoa Marketing Company.
He says he didn't have the 70,000 in any warehouse. He was here to receive it. And you see, that 70,000 is the difference between the 580,000 they had received, right? And the projected 650,000.
Some of which were actually still on the farm.
Exactly. So it was yet to come. You come here, you are just misleading citizens. Why? Listen, you lost an election. You are not getting it. You see, we have to keep repeating. You alone, you can't come back to office, right? It's the people in the middle like us, right, who alternate. We vote for NDC today, then tomorrow we vote for NPP. We in the middle, we are not interested. We've just made a decision. We saw that you misgovern. We're saying that take your time. Rather support them. You don't know that when you constructively support NDC, that one too, we can in 8 years say that for supporting well, you should also come. So it's also, no, let me show him. So you see, we are all intellectuals. Don't think that every time you have to pull wool over our eyes. Keep pulling wool over our eyes to come to government. It doesn't work that way. Just when the Ghanaian is getting very savvy. So another way is to play a very strong supportive role. When you do, we'll keep saying, you are the deputy MD, so to speak. You've supported these people for this number of years. We think let the deputy also come back into the saddle. It's also a good way. But when we've just thrown you out and you think for the past 1 year, any little thing, you do propaganda, then you reinforce the reasons why we threw you out. Now let's come to the next point. So I'm saying that I have Wisdom Dogbe here. He says, the MD says he didn't have the 70,000 metric tons. You are not in the saddle. And you want to tell Ghanaians that Wisdom Dogbe was sitting on 70,000 metric tons. Between the two, who would we? That's the MD of Cocoa Marketing Company. They do the actual sales.
I know Wisdom, so
and he's asking you that. Did you call him? You came to have him call him.
Continue.
Let's do that because it's a sign.
I have a rebuttal, so it's okay. I'm giving opportunity to
we are dealing with data here. We are dealing with data here. The man who has the data, you've not verified from him, then you are using some sources. Who would we trust? The man who has the data, he is in the saddle. He says he didn't have those 70,000 metric tons. You didn't check with him. I know these are the same kind of bad sources you were using and you did a bad governance. That's the same way. You are not diligent.
Yeah, let's
make that point. This is the same lack of diligence. No, that is it. And that's the price. No. We will know. That's the same lack of diligence.
I want us to stick to the issue.
When we are talking, I was quiet.
I'm just alerting you.
Yes, when you get your time. But you see, when you were misled, I just kept quiet because of this. The man you are accusing of sitting on the bean says he didn't have the beans at the time. So between you, who is outside the door, and the one who is inside and in the saddle, in charge of the steer, who would we believe? Maybe raise Mr. Dogbe on the line so that you show you. And you, Kabiru, today, you must show us the warehouse that had the 70,000 metric tons that you and your Jandam team, you have consistently said, we sat on 70,000. Show us that warehouse.
Tell us where it was to you. So you cannot pick and choose.
Next point is this. Look, prices have gone down generally in Ghana, right? You see this same lack of looking at the economy broadly as a whole, and even in law, we are taught that when we are even interpreting a provision, right, we read the provision as a whole, we read the constitution as a whole. Is this same myopia that led them to do bad governance? You are saying that we should take our money and go and cushion cocoa farmers. Look, there is a tape, a video. You see Nitu, Dominic Nitu, former defense minister, on the floor of parliament, crying that he has his rice locked up because that rice, right, he said over 100,000 I can give to Abdallah to play. The price used to be about 1,000 Ghana. Today the price is about 400. So prices have come down. Okay. So rice farmers are crying. Dr. Zato, very good. How many times didn't Zato cry here? Maize prices have come down. And so many other prices.
What's the point?
So the point? Oh, it's very clear that prices have come down in other sectors of our economy. And MPP now comes to say we should ignore all these other farmers and take money to go cushion only cocoa farmers. The very thing that they did, robbing Peter. So you are robbing the poor rice farmer, robbing the poor maize farmer to go and pay the cocoa farmer. So that in the end, it will come back and bite you ass again in the form of DDEP, which killed thousands of citizens. Is that how you run an economy? Is that how you run an economy? Look, as I've said, so you check all the maize farmers. Let's check. So from my data, cocoa farmers are between about 600 and 800,000 farmers, right? So if you look at all the other different farmers, maize, rice, etc., and you compare, you are saying that rob the rest, take care of only cocoa farmers. What kind of economics is that? What kind of myopia? And you know what we'll do? We'll just get back to right where Akufo-Addo ended with us, this DDP and etc. So please, this is your analysis. Me, I'm not finding my way through it. What is clear to me is that prices came down. These prices, this is not the first time. In 2016, 2017, the price came down. It crashed. But they will tell you that the 2016-2017 crash was supply-driven, all right? So it was a supply that was way too much. But I said this current one we are facing is a demand destruction event. So you see the difference. This current plummeting in cocoa price, they say is a demand destruction. What are they saying? They are saying, look, chocolate manufacturers have decided to reduce the size of chocolate bars. Number two, the additives, the fats, and others, they've decided to use other alternatives such as wafers, etc., instead of cocoa butter. The butter, those from cocoa.
They're using other alternatives to boost their. But
so the point is that this one is different. This particular cause, because I heard somebody else saying that we saw this price coming, this price plummeting coming, and I'm saying, from what the experts, yes, I'm saying that the experts,
government could have been proactive because there were signs of this situation that it could come. What we experience, if you talk about the supply destruction, we're seeing a lot more cocoa beans production on the world market from other countries, which has now influenced this particular situation. The demand destruction that we saw years ago, between 2022 and 2023, was as a result of the lack of production, which led to the prices soaring to over 10,000. Because when there is, obviously, when there is scarcity, it influences some level of price surge. That is what we saw between 2022, 2023, 2024. Because within that period, there wasn't enough production of cocoa beans. What we are saying now is the supply surge, where you're having a lot more cocoa beans on the world market. So the buyers have a lot more options.
No, but they're saying that it's more also of the demand distraction thing, that the buyers are not interested. They are reducing cocoa, the bar sizes, using other ingredients instead of cocoa. They're saying that the current one, from what I checked, they say, look, I have one of the data saying that while the 2016 crash
was data from where?
Supply driven, JP Morgan. Okay. JP Morgan Global Research. This is what they say. While the 2016 crash was supply driven, the 2025-2026 decline is characterized as a demand destruction event where high prices led manufacturers to reduce cocoa usage, coupled with a market correction from intense speculation. This is JP Morgan Research.
Okay.
That's why, so it's a demand destruction event. It's not the supply-driven one we've known in the past. So the person say, we saw it coming. Which one is this? This supply destruction event. Where? These are the researchers. These are the experts on it. These are the experts. It's a demand destruction event, which led, where high prices led manufacturers to reduce cocoa usage, coupled with a market correction from intense speculation. That's the thing. So this one is different. So please, some of this, look, we can read, though. We can read. Those days where you can just come, even the fact that you see somebody is a lawyer doesn't mean that we don't know. My first degree is in business. I read BSc administration and a lot of economics. So the least thing you say, I'll go and check. I have sources. I can always read. So it's not everywhere you can come. So my last question for you is that today, you will have to show us that warehouse where the 70,000 metric tons was and they didn't sell. Until that, I will not take anything you say serious, because let's be very serious. It must be data. Your debate must be data driven. Data driven. The man in the saddle, I'm challenging you today that please raise Wisdom Dogwe on the line. Let him face Kabiru.
We'll get that clarification. Very quickly. Hold on. Gentlemen,
so I have to rebut the claims you made. That's only fair.
You go to the substantive rebuttal. Gentlemen, hold on.
It's a different paradigm.
You are saying that I have to rebut whatever everyone says against me.
Hold on.
Allocate the time.
Professor Bokking said a number of things, which
I have to respond to. He said a number of things.
But the point you want to make, is it specific to the 70,000?
Yes, it's specific.
If that is specific. I'll come to you quickly on that.
One, nowhere did anyone tell you that Cocoa Board, there is some warehouse, it is sitting there. You are now asking me to go to the warehouse and show you. I'm not privy to Cocoa Board warehouses. But this is the sources of that particular number. One, licensed buying companies tell them that they have produced with cocoa, which they have supplied and they have not been paid, which is part of the cocoa agreement for the year. That is one. Two, cocoa farmers agitate, and you have seen that they have supplied cocoa to Cocoa Board. I'm using Cocoa Board generic because probably it is not a cocoa marketing company, which the way is the one in charge. To Cocoa Board, for which they are not paid. Who has the goods? Because if I give you my goods and I'm set to get money for it, and you've not given me the money, and your explanation is that you have, out of the cocoa contract, you've supplied outstanding of some 60 to 70,000 tons, and that you've disposed everything, the goods must actually be somewhere. So you can't then tell me that I have to go and show you the warehouse when the numbers don't add and the farmers tell you, I've given you your good. You've not denied that I've given you your good. Then what do you then tell me that I have to come and show you? No, wait. He cannot deny. They have a lot of things they have denied which have turned out not to be true. So I'm telling you that if it's there, is it telling the farmers that the farmers have lied? And that when the government was looking for money to pay the cocoa farmer, the government was looking for money to pay for non-existent produce.
No, it's a 70,000
Hold on.
But what is the government paying for? Listen. If Cocoa Board takes produce and go and sell, they come back and pay the farmers. Simple as that. For the produce that they have not paid, they cannot pay the farmers. So if a farmer is having outstanding money with you, you cannot say that, there's no produce and there's 70,000, someone should go and show you a warehouse. That is actually the gender analysis that you are making, and you are now trying to make people believe that people are doing gender analysis. In the case, rollover was another issue that they talk about. When we came to office, the 330,000 you are talking about, as of January 2025, 195,000 had been delivered. As of January, but you still come to this particular platform and say that 330,000 tons were undelivered. So subtract 195 from 330, even if that are numbers, that's 133. Compare that with what they left us in 2026 when they were rollover of 193,000. So rollovers have been part of contracting. And because if you don't have cocoa production doing well, because supply is reducing, you have to roll over some of the produce to the next year. So don't make it look like rollover was something new in 2025, 2016, 2017, or even this year, 2024, 25, and that for the first time people are doing rollover. I remind you that in 2016, there was a rollover of 193,000 tons.
So the 70,000 that you talk about is big. Your source is the LBCs.
Yes.
And
the farmers.
And the farmers.
Yes.
The
and
LBCs,
even
fortunately, they are with us. So and
I can even read. I can even read this article.
So are you done with that? Yes. Let's done.
No, yes. I can read further sources. Look,
no.
If you are minded, I'll give you that. If you are minded, I'll give you that. So it's not something that we can split hairs over. It's not something that we can split hair over.
Which article are you reading?
So this is an article about let me give you the author of that article, Emmanuel Bruce.
From where?
Where is it?
Oh no, hold on.
For instance,
where was this published?
Alfred.
Are you leaving the article?
Alfred. No, I'll attend to Africa. I want to set certain bases right, and that whatever source you get, and you believe that source is what document has Emmanuel Dogbe given you to show that contract were over and stuff is where that we should believe him. So Emmanuel Dogbe is as same as any other person. Wisdom Dogbe is I'm saying Wisdom Dogbe is as good as any Ghanaian. And I'm telling you that you cannot take Wisdom Dogbe words over what is.
Thank you.
And it could be the CEO, whatever it is. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And look. But Martin, it's not on me on this platform, because for me, whatever trenches you are dredging into, I'm ready to follow. But so it's not on me.
Today we
analysis and that kind of myopic analysis cannot become to me. So for me, we cannot go on that route. We can actually do this discourse dispassionately and intellectually, and that people were given time to prove their facts.
Good.
I'll come to that. Now, people were given time to prove. He will have his day. Felix will have his day, and I'll give him a fact, provided that any single thing that you want, you give him time to produce him and justify that.
That's why I keep coming to you about this 70,000 that you talk about. If you have ended on that point, yes, quickly.
There was no 70,000 anywhere that Kokobo has sat on. I have explained to you that because of the model that is being applied now, the purchases are dependent on the willingness of buyers to finance the purchase. So LBCs are the ones who buy the cocoa from the farmers and then give it to Cocoa Board to sell through their marketing agency. The LBCs sometimes pre-finance or they buy the produce on credit. No, please, you are the The LBCs sometimes pre-finance or they buy it on credit. When Cocoa Board pays, they come and pay the cocoa farmers. So the crop season was in session. They were buying as they should. And the buyers, who are the ones providing the financing, had indicated that they were going to buy 580,000 metric tons, which Cocoa Board had. There was an additional 70,000 tons that they needed to buy. When they got to that time, the buyer said, no, we won't buy it at the price you are offering because we are getting it cheaper in other places.
Yes.
So that is where the problem started. But once Cocoa Board did the reduction, the Producer Price Review Committee did the reduction, the people were willing to buy, and that's how come now those beans have been evacuated and they are being paid for. So this claim that Cocoa Board decided that we are 70,000, we will sit on it until the price rises, is not true. It's not borne out by any evidence. That is what that must be established. Now, the other issue that needed to raise, that he made some claims in his initial, which were completely for. You see, the MPP and Kabiru are rankled anytime you mention the state of the economy. But you see, whether you like it or not, that abysmal, horrific performance between 2017 and 2024 will eternally remain a part of MPP's history and Ghana's history. It is not possible for it to be wished away. We are not going to give the MPP a bouquet of flowers and pour myrrh and frankincense on them for destroying the Ghanaian economy. And the only way that you measure success by the NEC government is to see how far we have come. And how do you see how far we have come if you don't know where you are coming from? So anytime we talk about the state of they say we should fix it. After we have fixed it, the incontrovertible evidence on the ground is that almost every indicator is better now than it was under the MPP. So if you wanted evidence that in the last year we have gone back to brass tacks and we have done what has to be done to improve the economy, it exists. But it is fact, indubitable fact, that they left the economy in the worst shape possible. Look, DDEP is the harshest and worst economic policy undertaken by any government. Alfred, in all of economic analysis, the worst indicator is debt default. The moment you say that I have taken your money and I cannot pay, that is the lowest point in economic management. And before this, it had never been done. It had never happened in Ghana's history that we default on our debt. Achampo said, yentia. But this one, yen to mean tia, it means that they didn't have the money to pay. And that's how come the World Bank had to come in, hold our hands to go and beg creditors to take haircuts. Now, I see a desperate attempt to do some equalization between the DDEP and the cocoa matter. You see, they are two separate matters. What happens in the cocoa? Somebody is selling a commodity. That commodity is sold for a certain price. So when government through Kobo takes it, we take the price and give them a share of that market price. Then the rest is used to take care of other players in the sector. That is all it is. So the principle that you can give somebody more than what the price is sold for is untenable economic management. When they were in power, they were taking 10,000 Ghana cedis a bag and giving the cocoa farmer 3,000 Ghana cedis, which was just 30%. We said that no matter at whatever world market price we come to meet it, we will give you 70%. Now we are doing 90%. But in the case of DDP, this is what had happened. You went on the market and told people that lend me your money. When you lend me your money, I will pay you this amount of interest. And then at a certain time, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, I will pay you back the principal. In other words, the money you lent to me. You mismanage this economy, overspend in an election year, incur a deficit, which then causes investors to lose confidence in you. They pull out their investment, your currency crashes, nobody wants to touch you, inflation rises, hardships go through the roof, and everybody is suffering. Instead of you to go to the IMF, you say you are a proud people, so you won't go. And you dilly-dally for almost a year. The economy crashes further. Then you go to the IMF in an ambulance, and they impose conditionalities on you, and they say that the only way they can come in and go and tell creditors to forgive you and take a haircut is if you say you are bankrupt and you can't pay. So you declare debt default. You do what we call debt restructuring. Now, Alfred, I tell you that, yes, you lent me money, but the interest, instead of 20%, I'll pay you only 5%. And then your principal that you are expecting next year, I'll pay you in 10 years. That was devastating for Ghanaian families. 1.3 million bondholders suffered that. And then, to cap it, pensioners who had worked their entire lives and kept money aside for a rainy day, which had been used to purchase bonds, you say you won't pay. So they have to go and picket the finance ministry for many months, including the chief justice that you yourself appointed.
Exactly.
If things were not that bad, how does the chief justice that you yourself appointed become so desperate as to join protest to demand payments? And yet when we say that this is what has happened, you are saying that we should fix the economy, which we have fixed. Alfred, when we came in, and Professor Bokpen was talking about what he believes is an aggressive strengthening of the city. Look, there's, yes.
Forgive me.
So let me just
the next conversation.
So let me just
I wanted to respond
yes.
to what is the point he made about you government not being proactive.
No, what he meant was that this decision should have been taken earlier.
Earlier.
Exactly.
Yes.
The decision to reduce the farm gate price so that we can evacuate the cocoa that is left. That is what I believe he was referring to. It is a fair criticism. Maybe we should have, but perhaps, of course, you also know that it is a matter that has to be deliberated upon carefully. And the decision arrived at. So it's not an easy decision to take, but it is a necessary decision to take. But we've taken it. Right. And since we did it, the effects have been clear. The cocoa is being paid for. Billions of Ghana cedis have gone in the last few weeks. So there's no dispute about that. But as for the economy, look.
So that leads us to the next phase of the conversation.
There is no.
We are moving from.
Yes.
No.
Why you finish? When you have your time.
If we've got to stay on, because you said some things that we respond.
Of course. When you have your time, you can always respond. You see, again,
to the next phase of the conversation.
Alfred, when you get your time, you can reply to anything you want. That's what I'm doing. No. You understand me? When you get to, I'm only in my submission.
I'm just alerting you. I'm just alerting you.
Even I would insist that he gives you the time.
There are aggressive strengthening of the city.
Yes, I'm coming to that.
As we saw from 15 cedis 70 to now 10 cedis 78 pesos thereabout.
Kabiru's boss, Dr. Baumia, held a lecture at Central University. That is where he said if the fundamentals are weak, the exchange rates will expose you. But he said one other thing that people tend to gloss over. He says for an economy like ours, the most important economic indicator is the exchange rate. So how can the leader of the party say this, and then the members of the party say that now the exchange rate doesn't matter. Yesterday, Afenyo was saying that we don't eat exchange rates. Look, because our economy is export dependent. Because our economy, and what is the biggest contributor of inflation in Ghana? Isn't it exchange rate volatility? Yes. Because of our dependence on export, which is a regrettable situation and which needs to be cured. But it takes time. It's a medium to long-term activity. Exchange rate volatility has historically proven to be devastating for Ghanaian households. Look, when they took over power, the cedi was just around 4 cedis to $1. At a point in 2022, it went to 17 cedis on the forex market. By the time they left, it was around 16 cedis on the forex market, around 14, 15 cedis on the interbank market. It was a devastating decline in our currency. The effect was that every single item in this country went up in terms of prices. Right. What that does is that it increases inflation. That's how come we had 54.1% of inflation, which is hyperinflation. You went to the market and bought an item at this price. By evening, the price has gone up. When that happens, it eats into what you call disposable income. In other words, the money that you have to spend on yourself. And when that happens, it imposes suffering and hardships. And what we went through under the MPP has never been seen in recent Ghanaian memory. It is the worst economic situation in recent Ghanaian memory. Now, what caused it? Often, they say that, oh, President Mahama has gone to Harvard to say that COVID, it is not true. Look, let me disclose here. I was part of those who drafted that speech. So I have it on my computer. I can pull it for you.
So he never said that?
President Mahama said that. Listen. Hold on. President Mahama said, of course, there's no dispute that COVID affected every country. Relax. Even America and everybody was reeling. Right. But in Ghana's case, it was underlying macroeconomic mismanagement that exacerbated our situation. And if you want to know that, you do what you call a comparative analysis with our neighbors. There was no country in Sub-Saharan Africa that had the sort of economic indices we had. Our deficit was 15%. Look, COVID struck in 2019, if I'm not mistaken, right? 2019.
Yes.
The 2020 budget, which Ken Ofori-Atta read in November 2019, he said they would do a deficit of 5%. But when COVID struck, in July of 2020, by which time we had had a full handle on COVID and knew its effect and everything, he went back to Parliament. In fact, at that time, we had even done the lockdown and eased it because COVID had eased substantially. He went back to Parliament and said that because of COVID, it will affect our finances. So he was raising the deficit target to 11%. No, 10%, I think. By 2020 December, after the elections, they had done a 15% deficit. So it is not that they went into that election not anticipating the effects of COVID. They themselves had gone to revise the budget estimates in order to accommodate the effects of COVID. But what happened was that because there was an election, they got into reckless mood. Look, government's primary duty during COVID was to ensure that it did things to stop the spread of the disease. And then specific vulnerable groups who were affected were catered for. So when government did the lockdown, people who were traders, whose livelihoods depend on daily economic activity, government shared food for them, did they not?
Right.
In the space of 2 to 3 weeks, they had lifted it. And so people went back to basics and were trading and earning income. They were going about sharing money from confetti from the national coffers. I was contesting election in AAK. People who were not business owners or engaged in any form of business were receiving so-called business support. 5,000 cedis, 2,000. Indeed, they are former, I think she's still perhaps their deputy Northern Regional Chairperson. She's a woman, Felicia Teti or something.
Yes, that's the name.
She said that they gave each executive about 170,000 Ghana cedis, regional executive, and then gave constituency executives 100,000 Ghana cedis. If you share money from the national kitty like that, how are you not going to incur this sort of deficit? So they didn't need to do more beyond ensuring that we had vaccines and that we had a healthcare system that was robust and operating. And specific areas where they were, for instance, teachers, nurses who were not going to school or who were not going to the hospital. The truth is that in the year, we had programmed to pay them anyway. So paying them their salary while they were sitting at home was not a variation from what had been budgeted for. So it was not going to impose any additional burden on the coffers. You understand the point I'm making? But it was recklessness that led to that situation. And that recklessness dovetailed into suffering that is unparalleled in Ghana's history. And the biggest problem was the lack of financial discipline. Their inability to say that, look, I have budgeted for this thing. I am not going to yield to pressure to cave in to destroy, because the effect of yielding is catastrophic, which is what we all saw. What they did then was to build a comical artifice around the then vice president. And he went on the campaign platforms and insisted,
comical artifice.
I'm coming. What I mean is this: they project him beyond what he truly was. Look, they tell us that he brought what? Gold for reserve. It was novel. It was his idea.
Yes.
And that's
one of the issues that
so let me respond to it.
raised to. If you could hold on to
don't
forget. Don't hold on to Mr. Uzondogbe is joining us on the telephone.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. That's fine.
Okay.
So why it's okay. So Abed,
for me, I'm very happy.
You see, Abed, for consistency.
Hold on.
What this says. So when you do
for consistency
as well, please.
For consistency.
So I sent you a link.
So when you finish, you come back. I finish and then he can.
Yes. No. When you finish, then we have to see. We all have a bite on it because it's responding to me. So I'm not sure. Yeah.
You will. I mean, it's a point that you made.
Yeah, you let your production also project what I sent you.
Which is what's the article you're referring to?
Yeah.
Randy said they had 580.
No. You are not. I'm saying that you have the article, so please refer to it. Yes. What Randy said and what he's going to say. Yeah.
Thank you. The managing director of the Cocoa Marketing Company, CMC, Wisdom Dogbe, is joining us on the telephone, I believe. Mr. Dogbe, good morning.
Good morning, Alfred. Can you hear me?
I can hear you clearly. Is it better now? Can you hear us?
I apologize. I'm on the road, so connectivity is a little bit choppy, but I can hear you now. Please go ahead.
Perfect. Now, a point was made about some 70,000 tons of cocoa that, by the narrative, you had kept because you were seeking to, as it were, leverage on a possible increase in the price of cocoa on the world market. So you deliberately kept and did not sell. And that decision backfired because the projections did not come to fruition. Did you have this 70,000 tons of cocoa beans in any of your warehouses when you took over as managing director?
Alfred, thank you so much for having me, and good morning to your distinguished panelists as well. The answer to that is no. And just to be clear, CMC, we don't engage in speculative trading, not at all. We don't do that. Our responsibility is to ensure that we are getting the right price so the farmers can get the best possible outcome for their hard work on the farm. So we never speculated, we will never speculate. And at the time, we did not receive that cocoa into our warehouse either.
I see. So how would you respond to anyone who puts this to you, that some 70,000 metric tons of cocoa beans was kept in your warehouses for a possible leveraging of an upsurge in the price of cocoa on the world market?
Yeah, so again, it's unfortunate that there will be anyone that would allege that we were sitting on the cocoa waiting for a better price. No, that is definitely not the case. I think what is happening is that we have communicated out there that our forecast is 650,000 metric tons of cocoa for this crop season. And then when the minister announced the new producer price, at the time we had received 580,000 and sold 530,000 out of that. So I think it's a simple arithmetic. Folks are trying to do the calculation, what is left to be sold. And the difference between that 650,000 and 580,000 is that 70,000. Again, people also buy cocoa on a forward basis. Before they buy the cocoa, they look at the price. They look at what is going on the global stage. And what was going on at the time, folks can see that demand was going down. Prices were declining as well. And that is the reason why there was no demand at the time for that 70,000. But we never start down the cocoa. We will never do that. CMC doesn't speculate at all.
I see. Okay. So, Dr. Kabir Mahama, you made this point. And you said there's an article.
Let me come. Your CEO of Cocoa Board is reported to have said, and I quote, before this current crisis, we had sold 82 of the crop.
82%?
82% of the crop. We had taken over 580,000 tons and left with 70,000, unquote. This is clearly his quotation. This is what he said. And mindful of the fact that you have agreement for amount you are supposed to supply based on the foreign market, why did you keep the 70,000?
No. Left. No, Dr. Kabir.
No. Do I want me that we said that we had 800? We sold 82.
Right, so we are taking.
You should allow me, please, with the greatest respect. You don't have command of the Queen's language than I do. My comprehension of the text is as good as your comprehension. So give me the opportunity to respond.
Okay.
Please don't do that.
You read the article.
This is what he's saying, and I'm quoting him.
What did he say?
I'm quoting him.
The article.
Before the current crisis, we had sold 82% of the crop.
82% of what?
Of the crop, that's the cocoa.
82% of which
82% of the crop coming. We had taken over 580,000 tons. 580,000 tons, of which they sold 82%. And they are left with 70,000 tons. So if you are telling me that, this unquote, if you are telling me that no, it has not got the, that's what he said.
He quoted the 70,000?
He said 70,000 clearly, quoted. So it is not me putting it in his word. You cannot run around with it. I've sent it to your production. Please stop doing this.
Hold on.
No, let's come back to you. It's not your time. You have had enough time.
I think that, hold on.
You cannot belittle people's comprehension of simple text.
Hold on.
And I ask your production to put it there.
Dr. Kabir, hold on, gentlemen.
Why do you do this to yourself because of politics?
I asked Dr. Wisdom Dogbe specific questions, and he is giving us the answers as he inherited, and based on his supervision and superintendence over the cocoa marketing company. He says he did not inherit that. You have read an article attributing a statement to the Cocoa Board CEO.
Brandon is quoted to have said.
What's the issue?
So how does the CEO say that we've sold 580,000, 82%, and we are left with 70,000 leave, that they were setting now for the price to go up? That is the justification that they have purported. I'm coming. You are responding to the same. I'm coming. You are
if you respond to me,
no, he's responding.
Someone who's responding.
So, Dr. Kabir, so you reference German. Hold on. Okay, let me. No, wait.
It's okay. I have the right of reply.
You reference a statement attributed to.
Yes.
And I'm saying that the 70,000 was it meant to be kept for the prices to surge in that context, as you said?
So this is a question to me, and I think that I have to respond to it. This is a question direct to me. This is my position.
I'll come to
Why is it that when I'm
genuine?
So let me finish. When it comes to his turn, he's able. He's allowed to respond to anything else they said. I disagree. You see, Alfred. There's something.
No, it's a question he has asked you directly.
Hold on.
It's a question.
Let him conclude on this point. Hold on.
When it gets to your turn, when it gets to your turn, you can respond to everything.
Okay. No, gentlemen.
Last chunk of the time is
okay. Hold on.
I've monitored the timing.
So hold on.
It will get when I do this,
gentlemen.
When you are speaking, you can respond to anything.
No, but it's not for you to determine. It's not for you to determine. If he's asking me a specific question,
thank you.
Someone has asked a question. He's asked me to respond until I do my reply.
I asked you a question.
Is that not your response?
I asked you a question about an article which you have read. And I was coming to you.
No, you asked a further question.
I stopped Phyllis Kwatiofosu when he was referencing that particular article because I wanted the context in which he was making that reference. And Phyllis Kwatiofosu is talking about when this 70,000 you referenced, Dr. Randiabe,
which they said it was not existing first in this platform. That's where you need to come from.
Hold on.
That's the angle you have to come from.
You referenced that 70,000 statement by Dr. Randiabe. Did that statement also further say that it was being kept for prices to go up?
It's a good question. In the first place, on this platform, I made reference to 70,000, which people challenged that it was not existing anywhere, and that it was the figment of my imagination, and that I should show them the warehouse it is. Now we have established that by the West quoted, and if the quotes were not right, then he has the right to go and take the person on. But they are in quotation, they are not referencing. He's been quoted to say that there's 70,000 not delivered. Now, any reasonable inference, I'm coming to your question, that you have cocoa contracts signed to deliver, and that you have to deliver based on the forward market price, which I've already explained. What made you to keep that 70,000 we have not delivered? And the cocoa farmers are asking for their money, and you are saying that you have not supplied.
Can I answer?
He asked you. It's not you that I'm asking. If you want to reply, if you want to reply, you can reply. But my point is that you had, the CEO himself has said that they have been able to deliver. They had 580,000 of the tons.
Okay.
They had 800. If someone was simple, and I have 580,000. I delivered 82.
Okay.
I'm left with 70,000. What is the 70,000? So if he didn't say that it was even their contract that they had mentioned in order to even to deliver for that year. He said they had 580,000 of the beans.
Okay.
Of which they delivered 82% of that. The reference was not to the total contract signed to by Cocoa Board for the year.
All right.
So you cannot say that it's reference to the Cocoa this and that was there.
All right.
To forward sell, you must get a forward buyer. That is a critical point. It's not like Cocoa Board can go and foist beans on somebody who doesn't want to buy.
Hold on.
So you must get somebody to contract with.
You have already made your point. Please let him answer.
First of all, because of the financial model, in the past, you needed those contracts to go and raise a loan. You understand me? Now, you don't need those contracts because it is the buyers themselves who pay. So to be able to sell, the buyer must agree to buy. If the buyer has not agreed to buy, there's no contract with him. You understand me? You see, there's something in public debate called dialogue of the deaf, where somebody says something that is not true. No matter what you say, they insist on it. So for me, it's a complete waste of time. The quote he attributed to Randy does not say anywhere that they were sitting on the beans to wait for prices to rise.
That's the question that I posed, which I didn't.
But you see, I was talking about.
Yes.
I was talking about the NPP's management.
Hold on. No. Wait. Let me discharge Mr. Dogbe.
Okay.
Dr. Dogbe, can you hear me? No, I think we lost him. So I think his point.
Okay. I can hear you.
Yes, I'm sure. I'm sure you were following the conversation. That this 70,000 remainder, that is a statement attributed to your CEO. I'm talking about the Cocoa Board CEO. Was it kept to leverage, or was it a decision to leverage a projected price increase on the world market?
Not at all. Wait. Alpha, can you still hear me?
I can hear you clearly.
Yes, not at all. We followed the same process that we followed to sell the 530,000 that we received. Prices had climbed. At 580,000 that coming. That is exactly what happened. There was no speculation whatsoever. As I mentioned earlier on, Alfred, I want to state on record that CMC and Cocoa Board, we don't engage in any form of speculative trading whatsoever.
Okay. Thank you very much. Dr. Wisdom Kofi Dogbe, thank you for the clarity. And I'm closing the chapter on this with the last comment from you, because I want you to make that. We are moving on to the other aspect of the...
Yes, let's quickly. Get the statement clear. You see, the statement attributed to Randy is wrong. That's all. Let's read it again. What he says that before this current crisis, we had sold 82% of the crop. Then there is ellipsis, He said, we had taken over 580,000 tons. We had taken over. So it means 580,000 tons was what was in their possession. And left with 70,000. He said, we had taken over. When you take over, it's with you. And left, so the 70,000 had not come to him. And let me show you why it's even wrong. The 70,000 cannot be what was left. When you take 580,000, right? He is saying that the 70,000 is part of the 580,000, which is false, because he said we had sold 82%. So they mean that the 70,000 is the balance, which is wrong. If you do 82% of 580,000, you get 475,000. So 580 minus 475,000, is that not over 100,000? It's over 100,000. So you are getting about 155,000 metric tons. So the balance is not the 70,000. Anybody, viewers, let's go over this slowly. his argument is that the 70,000 was with Cocoa Board.
Okay.
Randy says they had sold 82%. So the total is 580. If you do 82% of 580,000, you are going to get 475,000. And I'm saying that 580,000 minus 75,000. That is over 100,000.
Thank you.
It's over 100.
Yes,
You get
it's over 100,000.
105,000. Is that not correct?
105,000.
It's 105,000, the same as 70,000. So the 70,000 was not with Cocoa Board. This simple thing, simple. You are in a hurry. You understand it. It's just, look, you try to do something, it went wrong. You just say, look, I apologize. Let me just withdraw. You don't keep on. That is it. That's it. 580,000 minus 82% of it. The 82% is 475,000. When you did that, you are getting 105,000. 105,000 is not 70,000, Kabiru. It's not 70,000. So there you have it. Please, don't come and do this thing.
Thank you. I think that I'm
no,
closing
so
the chapter on this.
That's the
Gentlemen, hold on, please. I think that I was quite clear when I went to Lawyer Matthew that this was going to be the last closing the chapter on this. I think that we are making a progressive movement onto the other aspect of the conversation. Dr. Joshua Zato is joining us. He is a senior lecturer in University of Ghana Political Science Department. I always say that he's nursing the ambitions to join you, the two of you, in Parliament.
Well,
and he hasn't disputed that.
failed attempt in the past.
He hasn't given up on that dream. That I can tell you for sure.
Now we say if he doesn't change from the Jandam, do not make
he doesn't do. He doesn't do that.
It is established clearly that he is here as an NPP member.
Yes,
because you have to be a card-bearer member to contest.
Of course, just like Bakwebu is here saying that they didn't. He spoke and said they didn't. So he was speaking as Cocoa Board member.
So the president also spoke about the Doc. In fact, welcome.
But before that, let me remind you that on this particular topic of exchange rate, he has had his bite.
Oh, I'm not. I was in the middle of
Please, let me do this job, please. There was a reference to it by Professor Bobkin in relation to the situation with the cocoa sector, about the aggressive appreciation
Can I, at least let me greet people and also join this debate. We
have you for the next section. If you can greet your people.
Let me greet yes. I just want people to know that yes, I came late. That was because I was booked to come at 9 o'clock. Okay, that's fine. So I came. So
no.
So what is it? Let me apologize. Felix, I like your energy this morning. I like your energy this morning. But can you use that energy to tell us what happened to the 100 whatever blocks you say you were going to build last year? What happened to them? Can you tell us where they are?
Chip compounds.
Chip compounds. Where are the 100 chip compounds you talk? You are trying to attack somebody because you said that I failed parliamentary. Yes. Where are the chip compounds you promised?
You ask a question, so let it be answered.
Okay, answer. I will shout because if I don't shout, you won't listen. Okay, where are the chip compounds? Okay, where are the chip compounds?
No, you asked a question. Do you want an answer?
Yes, I want an answer.
Okay, Alfred, you see, when I live here, I'm going straight to AAK. I'm going to commission 2 chips company in my district. Every district is building 2.
Okay.
So there are various stages of completion. In due course, they'll be completed. That's all.
You see, the answer was that in 2025, you were going to build 1 chips company. You lied. You did not build it. You lied. You did not build it. You didn't build it. You did not build the chips company. Somebody has come to sit here and trying to tackle the person. You have each other. It's not being bothered. Okay, no. You did not build it. You lied that you were going to build it. That's a fact. That's a lie. You said you were going to build 100 chips company in 2025. 2025 is something you haven't built it. That's a lie. No. That is a lie. I want him to know that he lied to the good people of this country. And you are going to see that lie. Hold on. I'm not going to no, it's to he lied. You are shouting and being Boris. Keep saying I'm shouting and then you are lying. I'm shouting and you are lying. What is that? You are going to stop saying and you are lying.
Your microphones are off. Thank you.
You said you were going to build the Did you build them? Did you build them? Did you build them? Did you build them? So listen to where are they? So where are they? No, where are they? So keep quiet.
Your microphones are off.
The president's statement that the country is about to take off, and so Ghanaians should fasten their seatbelt. I'm sure he slipped. He meant to say that the people should tighten their seatbelt for a possible crash of the economy.
Why?
Yes, because, I mean, you know that things are not going well. And that is the true state of the nation. Things are not going well. I mean, for example, macroeconomic indicators are good. If you have economic stability, it's good. But economic stability is not an end in itself. It's a means to an end. It's supposed to generate growth. But what are we seeing in terms of economic growth? In 2024, the economy grew by 5.7%. In 2025, by 4%. And it is projected to grow by another 4% in 2026. So what is the use of that stability if it cannot generate growth? Right. If you come to electricity, which is a very important input in generating growth, in creating jobs, Ghanaians cannot afford electricity today. In 2024, the cumulative increase in electricity tariff was just 3%. Cumulative throughout that year. Last year, 2025, the cumulative increase in electricity price was what? 18%. Already in the first quarter of this year, 9.6%. I mean, people cannot afford. So when the president said...
You entered into the IMF agreement, they say.
No, it's not the IMF agreement. Let me tell you something in context. When the IMF agreement was signed, the statement they are referring to is to the effect that we will implement the quarterly tariff adjustment. But even with that, the agreement was signed at the time inflation was very high. At the time, the exchange rate depreciation was very high, right? And these are the components that are factored into price determination. But by 2024, inflation had come down from 52% to about 23%.
Welcome back. Now, gentlemen, please. Thank you very much. Now, this is what Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam, the former finance minister, was referencing. And in fact, Professor Bobkin touched on this in his earlier submission about the aggressive appreciation of the cedi and its repercussions, as we're seeing now, even with an impact on export revenue coming in. And he says, we cannot talk about the state of affairs, even in the cocoa sector, without looking at this. The sustainability of this particular appreciation of the cedi against the dollar or the major trading currencies is one of the major issues that came up for conversation, because now a lot of it, yes, during the State of Nation address, because we saw some $10 billion pumped into the forex market by the Bank of Ghana to sustain the value of the cedi over the period of 2025. We cannot go on that path because the governor of the central bank himself has stated that this stability we are experiencing came at a cost. And that cost the Bank of Ghana cannot bear alone going forward. There has to be that change in direction in terms of growing the economy by building on the stability that we have experienced in 2025, with inflation as well trending downwards to this point. What's going to be the next phase of this economic recovery?
There's no economist worth a salt who would question the value of having a stable currency. And as I've told you, the MPP flag bearer says, in an economy like ours, the most important indicator is the exchange rate. And that when in doubt, check the exchange rate. So when the exchange rate leaves 4 cedis in 2017 and goes to 17 cedis over a certain period under the MPP, it is catastrophic. And the effects were felt by all of us. Indeed, the reason why they lost that election was a no-brainer. People were simply suffering, and they had to get rid of them by 1.7 million votes difference. So it is clear that any government that takes over must take immediate steps to halt this decline in order to bring relief to the people. And you must do it sustainably by finding a solution to the perennial depreciation. Our exchange rate regime here relies on demand and supply dynamics. It is like any commodity. If there's a lot of it or adequate quantities of it, the price is stable. If there's shortage, the fuel that is available gets its price jacked up. And that is what happens. So over the period, we have struggled as a nation to keep a handle on this. We have never been able to maintain stability over a sustainable period of time. So we said, as far back as 2020, that we needed a mechanism to ensure that we have adequate forex to supply the needs of those who need it to transact business in the economy. In fact, even we as a country require it to service our debts and meet certain obligations as well. So the Bank of Ghana currently has nostro accounts in various banks with forex holdings that we use to service our debt or meet other forex obligations when the need arises. Now, how are we going to do this? In 2020, we said we will use a gold board arrangement. Essentially, gold board was going to ensure that there was adequate supply of forex by mopping up available gold to sell in order to get forex to intermediate in the market so that there is no shortage which leads to depreciation of the currency. That is all that there is to it. Now, the effects of this has been felt by everybody.
Right.
Alfred, anybody who tells you, and I heard my good friend Dr. Amin say that we are in a terrible situation, a bad situation as a country, that cannot be true. There can be no credible claim that this economy is worse than what we inherited. It is simply not true. The effect of cedi depreciation on prices has been clear. There are thousands of items that Ghanaians live by every day. We used to buy these items under the MPP. We buy it now. And it is not a lie that those items have reduced in prices. In fact, the reason why inflation would even reduce is that if you check the Ghana Sasga Services CPI, the basket of goods that they use to do the calculation, 307 of them. If prices had not declined in the basket, it will not result in a decline in inflation. It doesn't mean that there isn't some inflation. The rate at which prices increase generally has reduced. To get that, it means that some prices have to decline in the basket for you to get that kind of reduction.
Right.
And in actual fact, things like rice, maize, cement, beans, margarine, palm oil, soft drinks, and the things we use every day have declined in prices. There are also a few people who do rent seeking. And so, despite the clear reduction in the factors that account for pricing, they either maintain or run to jack it up. There's no basis for it, especially if you are an importer, because the value or the amount of cedi you need to import has reduced because of the appreciation of the currency. And then when you bring in the imports, the duty that is charged you, which is indexed to the dollar, has also reduced. So there's no basis. I've heard some of them say that they suffered immensely under the MPP and that they incurred huge losses when the MPP destroyed the economy. And so perhaps they think that now is the time to make some recovery. And that is why they have been reluctant to reduce some items. Sure. Now, whenever we say this, the MPP says, oh, this is an inherited policy. They claim that we have rebranded
yes.
a policy that they claim was called Gold for Reserve by Bawumia. Yes. First of all, and I spoke about a comical artifice. You see, they dress the man up in borrowed clothing.
How? What
in one breath, they say this man had nothing to do with the Ghanaian economy. He was not in charge. And that all the negatives about the economy had nothing to do with him. Yet, the same man who was not in charge was able to impose what they say was their flagship economic policy at the time, Gold for Reserve. After, it doesn't make sense to you. So they don't attract much credibility towards the man by that narrative. Because the man cannot be in charge at one time and not be in charge at the same time. It is an untenable, illogical argument. Number two, to say that Bawumia is the brainchild behind Gold for Reserve, you must mean two things. Either that in the whole world, no central bank had gold reserves as part of their strategy to defend their currency, or that it was the first time in Ghana's history that the central bank had gold reserves. Both claims are false. Look, for 3 centuries, as far back as 1694, the Bank of England has had gold reserves. Indeed, they hold the world's largest gold reserves, if I'm not mistaken. Only last week, Sky TV was allowed into the Bank of England votes. They counted 22,000 gold bars kept in that one of their votes under the streets of London. They even keep gold bars from other countries for them. So the principle or idea that central banks keep gold is not novel. It is at least 3 centuries old. Unless they say Bawumia is like the Highlander. He has lived for 3 centuries. That was around in 1694 to propose this. I don't see how this is tenable. Number two, even in Ghana, the first time we had gold for reserve was in 1961 under Kwame Nkrumah. Before the MPP came to power, there were 8 tons of gold in the votes. Sorry, there were 8 tons of gold belonging to the Central Bank of Ghana, the Bank of Ghana. Indeed, Alfred, to put it in context, when you say 8 tons, it is not small. It means 8,000 kilograms of gold. That is what the central bank had. Then, between 2021 and 2022, they said they added 20 or 22 tons. When we came in, we've added another 10 tons. You understand me? So it is not true that having gold as part of the reserves is Baumia's idea. Because it existed as far back as 3 centuries ago, 300 years ago.
Okay.
And then in Ghana, it is not the first time that we've had gold in our reserves. Number 3, what was even the purpose of having a ramp up in gold under the MPP? 2 things had happened. Because of their distraction of the economy, people had spirited out their investment, especially those who were abroad and were investing in our country. Normally what they do is that when they invest in our bonds, when the maturity is due, they roll over. But since 2021, when they noticed a decline in the economy, they started pulling out their money. Indeed, the Bank of Ghana itself says that over a 2-3 year period, up to $6 billion was spirited out of this country by investors. So they had depleted our reserves to a point where they didn't have money to give to importers of crude oil. And it was going to pose a problem. So what they did was that they put in place a very opaque arrangement. They bought gold, gave it to an intermediary, who then went to sell it and use it to buy crude oil and bring it. That's what they call the gold for oil. It was born out of necessity because they had depleted the reserves. If they had reserves in dollars in the Bank of Ghana, they would not need to go and do any gold for oil programming. The other point is that if indeed this was such a novel policy, how is it that they started doing this in 2021? And yet, at the time they were doing it in 2021, the cedi was at 5 cedis to $1. Meanwhile, by the time they left office, it had gone to around 15 to 16 cedis. So what was the effect of that policy? So it was a useless policy that was just decorating the walls of government. It had no effect on anything. You say you are such a genius, you are bringing a policy to defend the currency. Yet the more gold you piled, the more our currency depreciated and imposed hardships on the people of Ghana. As far back as 2020, we had proposed a gold board, and the gold board is a unique arrangement. What happens is that the gold that we produce, a significant part of it is not accounted for. People smuggle it, and it ends up in Dubai and India and other places. So we said as far back as 2020 that when we win power, we will establish the gold board as the sole authority to market and export gold, and that you cannot engage in that, especially in the artisanal and small scale sector, without recourse to the gold board. So because of that, they've put in place measures to curb smuggling. And so you have seen a corresponding ramp up in the amount of gold exported. In 2024, under the MPP, 63 tons of gold were exported. Last year, Gold Board exported 103 tons of gold, which brought in $10 billion, which the Bank of Ghana used to intermediate in the market and keep the cedi stable. And at a level that made it comfortable for the people of Ghana to be able to buy things cheaper than they did under the MPP. Why, Alfred? You have a car. There was a time under the MPP when you bought diesel for 23 cedis a gallon. Today, that is not the case. When you go to the same filling station, you buy it for much cheaper. Why is that? Because one of the factors, the cedi, has substantially reduced. That even if there is a marginal increase in the world market price of crude oil, it balances off and it makes it cheaper than. Indeed, since we've been in power, fuel prices have dropped for 13 consecutive times. That has had an effect on inflation. So for 13 straight months, inflation has reduced from 23% to 3.8%. So the MPP must stop this habit of giving undeserved credit to Bawumia in order to package him for electoral purposes. That narrative failed at the election because people didn't buy it. You cannot insult people's intelligence. You cannot tell me that the man who was the head of the economic management team was not in charge of the economy, and that the depreciation of the dollar was not his fault. Rising inflation was not his fault. Debt default was not his fault. At the same time, he was in charge of the economy, such that he can impose a so-called gold for reserve policy on the government to implement. It does not tally, does not make any sense, it is completely illogical, and it insults the intelligence of the people. Since we've been in power, we have taken steps that everybody can attest to. In fact, it is actually...
Gold revenue, export revenue,
absolutely.
$21 billion, over $21 billion
absolutely.
in 2025.
You see, so what happens is that part of it goes into the reserves of the Bank of Ghana. Now they say that, the Bank of Ghana has even sold 18 tons of gold.
Yes.
And therefore, there's something, Alfred, there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
What happens is this, that you see, gold is a volatile commodity. Its price fluctuates. Indeed, in the immediate aftermath of Trump's invasion of Venezuela, it went up. Then 2 or 3 weeks later, it's reduced by 5% in price. So it does that all the time. Therefore, if you hold significant reserves in gold, you must manage and diversify your portfolio such that if there's a sudden precipitous decline in the price of gold, you don't lose out, especially when the world market price has hit a certain level. So the Bank of Ghana merely diversified. Number 2, it's not like they went to sell the gold and gave the money to government to spend as part of its budget. They sold the gold and kept the proceeds in their reserves. So now our reserves is around $13.8 billion. Indeed, when the finance minister launched GANRAP, he says that he wants to ensure that now we leave import cover of 5.7 months to 15 months. When that happens, our currency is protected for a sustainably long period, so that the fluctuations that we suffer, which leads to spiraling cost of living, which imposes suffering on the Ghanaian, is abated.
Now, that I'm going to come to Dr. Kabiru on one point, but you see, the $10 billion that you referenced that the Bank of Ghana pumped into the forex market to sustain the value of the cedi, as a result of what we saw with this, the amount of export revenue that gold brought in, over 21 billion. How sustainable will it be in terms of the interventions by the central bank in the forex market, especially because the IMF has advised that it reduces its footprints in interventions?
What happens is that the worry of people like the IMF and other observers and economists is when you burn your reserves for the purposes of sustaining your currency. Indeed, that is the reason why the MPP couldn't do the same, because they didn't have adequate dollars. They had about $8.3 billion in it, but it was not enough to do any serious intermediation. In fact, the IMF actually put a curb on them that they can't do that because they needed to guarantee capacity to repay our debt in dollars when the time is due, so that we don't go back into the situation where they didn't have forex and they have to scramble around for it. So the IMF actually prevented them from doing so. The IMF also said that when we came to power, within that year, we should add up to $400 million to our reserve. We had added 1.4 billion, 1 billion more that the IMF wanted us to do. So we had excess. Now, if you have excess and reserves are secure, you don't have to bend through it. And yet, there's a currency which needs to be protected against fluctuation and rapid depreciation, which has a direct deleterious effect on the livelihoods of people. It is the right thing to do. What matters is that you should have a sustainable way of obtaining the foreign exchange for that purpose. So what Bank of Ghana does is that it is intermediation. The commercial banks want dollars, so they give cedis to the Bank of Ghana. The Bank of Ghana gives same to Gold Board to purchase gold. When Gold Board sells, they bring the dollars. The Bank of Ghana then gives it to those who had come to buy the forex in the first place. Now, you ask a question about how sustainable it is. That is why the finance minister, with such foresight, has gone to Parliament to say that now that we have a good price for gold, let us build what he calls an economic war chest. So if you have sufficient reserves, such that you get to a point where you have 15 months of import cover. Mind you, the standard really is around 3 months of import cover. In fact, for a long time in our history, the standard that we used to apply was 3 months. If you have 3 months of import cover, you are covered. Now we have 2.7 months more. If you have 50, you have 12 months more, a year's worth of import cover more than the minimum that you require. That gives you room in the days when the commodity price falls. Mind you, it is not only gold that gives us, forex reserves. Indeed, the most sustainable way, organic way, is through exports of commodities. In fact, non-traditional exports have increased by 47% in the last year or so. There's also oil, and then there's gold, which we just discussed. You understand me? But you see, in between the time that you fully industrialize, to have a strong export base, you must have mechanisms that protect you against the depreciation. And I must reiterate that the depreciation, as Baumia himself attests, is the biggest problem of this economy if you set aside unsustainable debt. And any government that has a handle on it and is able to ensure that the currency is stable such that it does not affect prices to the detriment of citizens deserves credit, as we have done.
Well, I pose these questions because government would have to answer.
Oh, of course, he is free
obviously.
to.
Dr. Kabir, we're seeing these three commodities, just three of them, accounting for about 80% of our export revenue, what we have seen over the period. And this administration's policy is to leverage this gold to ensure that the currency is sustained. I recall before the presentation of the budget last year, you had indicated that the macroeconomic indicators we are seeing trending towards the right direction is one worth commending. Sustainability is the question that you asked at the time, is it not? Do you get an answer to that with what you have heard today?
Well, so before coming to your answer, there are several serious points being made regarding what Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia said, and to the effect that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia cannot be seen to be taking credit. And they anchor that particular argument on the fact that acquisition of gold for reserves or keeping our gross international reserve in gold is not something new. But what they fail to also tell us that since independence, we had got about 8 tons of gold, and that under the NDC regime, not even one single ounce of gold was added to our reserve. Not even one single ounce. And for someone to have come with an idea to say that, look, there is this old tradition of keeping your reserves in commodity, i.e. gold, because of the volatility of your cedi. You need a stable commodity with which you can anchor your currency on, and proposing gold. When people even were saying that, look, he's going into classical economies, that he's going back to old age economies where they are doing barter trading of oil and whatever, and they were using all kind of derogated words against him. Now the chicken has come home to roost. That the government, after assuming office, now realized that that policy is actually a savior, decided to rebrand that. And they say we shouldn't call it rebranding. I have read through that policy document that they are using to support this particular. I'll come to the numbers. And every single one, in the first one, their major one was to ramp up 20% of large-scale gold miners under the preemption right, their preemptive right under the Mineral Act. Look, this was the same act the MPP used and brought the chambers of mine to the Jubilee House. I was in the meeting where they were asked to, give that 20%. And what made our model a bit different from what they were doing, and even when we talk about the losses they incur, was the fact that large chunks of the gold that were used for the reserve were coming from the large-scale miners. So because of that, it provided some safety against this particular price volatility and also making losses on gold trading. Now, it's okay that you believe Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia's ideas is something workable and that you are going to use it. We know that the argument that he said he was not in charge of the economy, look, let's get the facts clear. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is not the one even telling you he's the brainchild behind the point. The governor of the then Bank of Ghana had come to announce that this policy, and they want to credit it to Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. So, invariably, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia was not the one implementing that policy. There was someone responsible for the implementation of the policy, and that is the Bank of Ghana. And it was not a fiscal policy. It was not a central government policy, as these people are even trying to make it a central government. It is not government business for the management of foreign exchange. It's the central bank duties to do that. And the autonomy of the central bank is so sacrosanct that the law enabling the central bank has guaranteed that. So when Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is giving credit for an idea he had tossed to the central bank and they embrace it and work out the formality for it to be done, he must definitely take the credit. That is not to say that there were certain things that probably he had wished to have done. On e-levy, his views were clear, but then it was implemented in a way.
His views were clear.
So, as to the fact that implementation of that particular program in the midst of trying to digitize and intensify digital economy is not antithetical. It was clear. But a cabinet decision and a collective cabinet decision, it was implemented in the way. So when you bring in these factors and say that, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia was part of the government, and so therefore you say that he was not in charge of the economy, and then how can he be charged? You are just basically trying to tell me that either you are refusing to understand, you are doing politics with the issue. That doesn't mean that my idea.
But you
let me give you an example. Let me give you an example. I'll make your point. Let me make your point uninterrupted, and you can come with your question. Look, I can be in this government and propose an idea which will work, and I'll not be anybody in the government, and they'll give me credit for it.
Okay.
So it doesn't mean that if I bring an idea, I ought to have been someone with so much influence that the idea would be implemented. So let's scrap that particular, let's take that out. And look, I still see that this government and this communicators of the government are still living as if we're in 2025, or in fact 2024. We have gone past that. A lot of water has gone under the bridge, and that the people of Ghana expect you to leave this propaganda and face the reality and work to the glory of the people of Ghana. That is what we want. Now, on the issue of goals for, this particular policy, there's nothing wrong leveraging on your natural resources for the basis of your economic stability. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. And if a government is doing that, we ought to say that the government has something that probably is supporting our economic growth and stability and the sustainability of the exchange rate. Now, if you look at the aggressive, and Prof talk about it, one of the effects of the aggressive appreciation of it, which we have argued is the artificial propping up of the cedi, is because you pump up every month 1 billion Ghana cedi to support the cedi. And someone says that, look, the IMF, we could not do that in 2024. As a matter of fact, the condition under the IMF program was for us to do 3 months of import cover. And we had done 4. So we could have liquidated the additional money to support it. And if you remember, Governor Addison told people at a conference that if you want me tomorrow to bring the cedi to $10, I'll bring it. He said, but at what cost? So, you see, it is not that economic managers don't know what it takes to do some of these things. They do understand, they do know, and they do what it takes to do. But at what cost? The cost of that, we're going to deplete our reserves to support the currency. We'll have a stability, but our reserves will be weakened. But if a government had been able to accumulate 4 months of import cover, even at a time of difficulty, at a time of crisis, we were able to do some 4 months of import. In fact, the equivalent of 9 billion. We could have used some 1 to 2 billion to support the currency, but we could not do that because the IMF program required that do a minimum of 3 months. And even when we had done that, they have still not lifted the conditionality that we should support the currency. But as soon as the NDC took over, that conditionality was lifted. So the NDC had the leverage and the opportunity to liquidate whatever reserves we have to support the currency. Now, coupled with record prices of gold prices was coming. They use about 10 billion, as he himself admitted, to support the currency. The IMF has really red flag about it. You know the effect of that? Whenever you subsidize your currency or you artificially prop up your currency, you are subsidizing external economies. In other words, what we have done is that in the past 1 year, we have given 10 billion to economies outside the country. That's the meaning of it. So imagine 10 billion Ghana cedi were to be used in the Ghanaian economy. So and when we speak against this particular artificial propping of the cedi, it is basically on the point of economic, prudence. It's not based on anyone. We are happy. Every Ghanaian is happy that exchange rate is stable. But the cost of it is not what we have not reported, because many people are not seeing it. But if you are an economist, you see that you are basically subsidizing economies of other countries by supporting your currency with 10 billion 1 billion every month. And for the last 1 year, some 10 billion United States dollar has been pumped into the economy. So when we argue that it is artificial, it is cosmetic, it's not grounded on any structural adjustment or any structural changes to our economy, it is based on the data that is before us and the analysis of same. Now, you talk about using natural resources. Let's ask ourselves.
The metanomics that we've been engaged in.
Let's ask ourselves. Let's ask ourselves. What happens if tomorrow gold prices plummet? Even though projections are that they are going to be sustained, the rally is going to sustain over $5,000 for the next 2 years. But in the event, because commodity prices are a bit not predictable, crisis can make them crash. What happens? And that's also when we're speaking against it, we told them that, look, nowhere in this policy have you made mitigation measures as against any sudden crash in gold prices. We are having cocoa prices declining. We are having crude oil prices declining. These two are on the nosedive. It is only gold that is an outlier because of global uncertainty and the movement towards asset-based, i.e. gold, in the store of value by investors. So when we raise this issue, it's not that we have issued something with the program, but we are thinking of that we had implemented it. We saw the weaknesses of these particular policies, and we saw the strengths of this policy. What something different are you doing rather than just rebranding same and presenting it? And you see why we have problem. The Minister of Finance came to Parliament and stated that for the first time, and that this has never happened in our history. And then we're like, really? This has never happened in our history?
that you are taking policies that have already been implemented, something that we did not make fanfare about, we did not make pomp and pongery about, because we thought that it was normal for a government not to go to parliament in any way. The central bank duty is to make sure that they stabilize the cedi. Policy being implemented, and you say you have to come to. In any case, the policy has been brought to parliament. What effect has that got? There's nothing that the government couldn't have done under the scheme without bringing it to parliament. But you bring it to parliament because you want to create a sense that it is a policy that you are introducing to the people of Ghana, and it's a policy that you want to, take credit for. So this stability of the currency, yes, no one in his right senses will say that it's not something that has brought respite. But every single person will tell you that, or every single prudent economic analyst will tell you that if your rally of the cedi is so aggressive, and it's not, and he admitted that the right thing would have been for us to increase the real sector. And that is where we have consensus on, that the right thing would have been for us to expand the productive capacity of our economy, make sure that our economy is, and since independence, and even they say we want to change the structure of Ghanaian economy from Gadget's-based economy to productive-led or production-based economy. Mm-hmm. But still, while we are in the 21st century, in 2025, 2026, we are still based on the Gadget's-based economy, because we are basically mining gold, exporting the gold, taking the revenue from the gold, using it to put in our reserves, support our currency and our import.
Hold on.
That is the nature. Of course, a government could have promised that we want to change the structure of the economy, and the government took initiative toward the realization of same. The government might not have completed that particular initiative, and it's for succeeding government to continue such an initiative, i.e., the 1D one factory. It is 1D one factory, 1D one F. Yes. It is within the contemplation of that particular changing the structure of Ghanaian economy to making it export-led and increasing the real capacity of your economy. That policy was initiated, right? They came in with the 24-hour economy. Apart from the gymnastics around it, about 133, the real intent after they have come up with the policy is to support the productive capacity of the country, right? All these bits and pieces, in my opinion, in my candid analysis, are to join to each other to make our country move toward that particular level we want it to be. Sure. But at the moment, one point that has to be made clearly that the policy that you are bringing in under what they call the GANRAP, the Ghana as a related National Reserve Accumulation Policy, which has been passed by Parliament, nothing in that particular policy, not even one single thing, is new under the current situation. Either it was done by the then NDC or done by the then MPP, and that has been brought together, and they are packaging that as a new program. So now, not even one single one.
One of the cardinal points in that program, which you say is not new, is the target of increasing
15% of income cover.
No. Yes, 15 months.
Yes, I'll come to that. I'll come to that.
That I haven't seen in the previous policies.
I'll come to that. They argue.
So there's a newness to it.
I'll come to that. They argue that traditional, which is not even Ghana, traditionally the international standard is that if you have 3 months of import cover, you are able to respond to any disaster in the event of such occurring. That's the whole idea of 3 months import cover. Yes. That if your economy was to be closed to the external world,
if there was another
that you were in the state of anarchy, you have to be self-dependent and self-reliant. You could stay within your country and depend on yourself for the next 1 month, and that you could import. If you were going to even import and your country is not producing, you could import and cater for your citizens for 3 months without any problem, after which you find yourself, fumbling. That is the whole idea. And it's not only Ghana, it's been there, it's international practice. Now, the essence and the, ambitious target of moving our import cover to 15 is something ambitious. It's something that we are able to do, is going to be good. But my only worry is that the history of this government in 1 year has not lent credence to the credibility of that target. And I'll explain why. That you met 4 months of import cover, which is equivalent to $9 billion United States dollar, when you came to office in January 2025. By the end of 2025, you had added about 1.6 months of import cover. You have done at least an additional accumulation of 1.6 months of import cover, something commendable. But at that rate, it means that you can only do 10 months of import cover with the assumption that you are not even going to deplete it.
Okay.
You are going to do only, if you are using the 2025 rates, You are going to do some 10 months of import cover by 2028. You cannot do 15 months of import cover.
Okay.
But the reason why it is so ambitious is also on the fact that in the year under review, when you do 1.6 months of import cover, you were not honoring your obligation, i.e., I use it reservedly because you were not honored because they were dead standstill, they were renegotiated for obligation to start occurring from 2025.
Yes.
So there was some window, there was some briefing space within the year. In 2025, that briefing space is going to be contracted. And the contraction of that particular space means that you are forced to honor obligations into the future.
But we've started honoring our obligations.
Even before we honor obligation. It's not the first time. Paying Eurobond and DDP has already been happening.
Yeah.
Anta paid some, even Ken before he left paid some, and this government paid some. Even as earlier last week, Atufasan paid some.
True.
The only exception is that when we pay, we never made any news about it. But when they pay, they try to make news and it becomes a headline as if something dramatic is happening.
Okay.
So that is the problem with that particular target. And you, again, let me probably, with the greatest respect, land on that particular point.
Okay.
You see, when you are doing 1.6 months of import cover every month, and then you are saying that you want to diversify your holding and you are going to rally it with gold, and then when you were handed over about 31 tons of gold, you liquidated that 31,000 of gold, half of it. You sold that and got dollar to support your currency. Now, look at the antithesis of that. That now you are assuming they had even left it. The price in dollar term would have even been more now. Because gold prices are higher now than the time they sold it. So that is the antithesis of their home policy that you inherited even 30,000 tons. By the end of 2025, you have sold 18 tons. Some 30 tons, you have sold 18 tons, constituting over 50% of what you inherited. And your argument is that you want to diversify your holding. It doesn't make sense to keep. In any case, if you are keeping your reserve in gold, it is more secured than keeping your reserves in dollars. Because dollars is so fluid that you can use it to pay anything, but the store of value for the future in terms of reserve has to be based on gold.
But if you make that proposal as well, you don't do that in oblivion, taking into consideration the state of affairs internationally. The dollar itself is not doing well.
Yeah, so that's the more reason why you need to keep it in gold.
So that's because you made the point about, rather instead of going on this path of liquidating to support the economy, the currency, which you do not dispute the attendant effect of it, the positives that it has had on the economy. You would rather we still keep the reserves?
No. So this is the point. This is the point. We are talking about the balancing act. And I even told people that even when we come, I don't know whether we differ, even in the inflation dynamics, inflation could have been reduced systematically to the level that you wanted, without necessarily crashing demand. And that he mentioned about prices of goods in the market not buying because there's no demand for maize, there's no demand for soybeans, there's no demand for rice. Okay. And that even if you have it in the market, people purchasing capacity is not able to, because government aggressively mop up some 60 billion, which was in the hands of people to do transactions. So those are the down effects of that.
I asked that question because of the point you made earlier about, yes, you acknowledge and commend the impact that this policy of shoring up the value of the city with the gold reserves, export revenue from gold has had. But then again, you would have recommended that we keep our gold reserve. So those are the two different positions.
So let me get Kelly. It's not that. So you see, the essence of the reserve program is that it brings stability. The speculative attack on your currency is reduced if an investor look back and see that this person has these reserves. Okay, reserve itself is a shock absorber. So, but using the reserve, liquidating the reserve to pay for goods and services, doesn't portend well for you, because in the minds of the people, you can't really support your economy unless, of course, you have reserves. So every single person is going to monitor at what rate. And the speculation is going to keep, because people will not now trade on a normal basis. They will want to hope that, okay, let's wait for their reserve to finish. We can get back to business as usual. So that's what I'm saying, that when you are keeping the reserves in dollars and people look at it, it serves as an observer. But again, he said about, were we keeping it for cosmetic effect? And that's the last point I will learn. Look, that point is made several times, and it is as if to say that NPP were keeping the reserves of 13 tons and were not doing it, and the city was crashing. Let's be fair and candid in this analysis. I told you first and foremost that NPP could not have done that because there was a conditionality. The Bank of Ghana governor had mentioned to you that if you want him, and if that is what the wish of Ghanaians, he would make that. I've made that the second. So you don't create the sense that it was there and we did not. In either case, the effect of that is what we are talking about. Even if we had done that, we would have also been facing some of this effect that we are discussing now.
Okay, thank you.
1 second, just one point. This analysis this chapter you just finished. Let's remember that my reading of what the governor put out, he said that our gold reserves, made us look lopsided. So comparatively, they did a comparative analysis. It's not just Ghana. Read it. He said they did a comparison, and they saw that our thing was lopsided. We had too much gold, so we're exposed. So based on that, they reduced. So it's a comparative analysis. They didn't just wake up. Exactly.
You don't place all your eggs in one basket. Which is a sound thing to do.
When you had the chance, you couldn't do it. Somebody is doing it well. That one to your complaining.
Let me bring in.
That's what it's called. Reflexive negativity. Reflexive negativity.
If you don't, I'll come to you. You have your something. Professor Kwesi is going to be joining us on Zoom as well in a bit. But Dr. Joshua Zato, analyzing this also has some governance perspective to it, is it not? Yes, the state of the economy directly influences the state of affairs when it comes to how people appreciate their standards of living and so on. We have seen generally the trends go towards the right direction, which has been acknowledged as well by across the aisle. Everybody seated across this table. But then the question of sustainability, Phyllis Kwachofosu says, look, to the extent that we can bank our hopes on gold trending towards the right direction, $5,000 an ounce as we speak. And for the next 2 to 3 years, all things being equal, gold is expected to trend upwards. That's based on Bloomberg's own analysis, as we have seen. Is there any point of caution?
Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity. As we are speaking, the U.S., Iran, and Israel are bombing each other. Let's take a minute to pray for global peace, to pray that these people will put away their weapons of destruction and say that the brotherhood of friendship will obey the principles of the UN and come to peace. Because we know as a country that this thing has a way of affecting us, if nothing at all, in terms of our peace and security. So let's pray for peace. 2, it's clear, it's true that yes, the economy is doing well when it comes to some of the fundamental microeconomic indicators. Nobody can run away from that. That inflation is coming down, according to GSS, is true. That interest rates are coming down is true. That fuel prices are relatively stable is true. That the city is relatively stable is true. All these things, you can say that they're true, they're facts. So that state of the economy, you could say that. But then you can then also say that at what cost? And then you can say that this current economy that we are in has picked or is picking winners and losers. That there are some people or some sectors that are winning from the current economic system, and yet there are some substantive amount of people also losing from the current economic system. So the winners are what I'm talking about, the microeconomic indicators. So if it is doing well there, you can say it is interest rate, the city being stable, the fuel prices. So those are the people or the sector of the economy that can say they are what? They are the winners of the economy. But then there are losers, biggest losers. One of the biggest losers of this economy is Galamsey, or the fight against Galamsey. If you listen to everything that they've heard, if you even listen to both Felix and my brother here, there's a central idea is on gold. It's on gold. What gold does and what gold doesn't do. If you look at the law, the policy that has been taken to Parliament about shoring up our gold reserve within a very short period of time, it's on gold. Then we have to ask what is happening to gold. The price is good. Where are we getting the gold and how are we getting the gold? Galamsey is still on the ascendancy. Galamsey is still a marauding impact. Galamsey is still destroying our forests and our rivers. That is still happening. And a lot of it is by this gold they're talking about is from small-scale gold miners. We know that some of these small-scale gold miners are Galamseys.
We know.
The licensed small-scale miners?
You know, some of the people doing mining in Ghana, Galamsey, there's Galamsey gold in Ghana. That's the point I want to make. There's Galamsey gold. We've been told that Gold Board has monopolized the buying of gold in Ghana, small-scale gold. We've been told that. They monopolize it. So nobody else can buy that gold. 2, we've also been told that smuggling has been kept. And I've asked this question, I'm going to ask this question again. But Galamsey is on the increase. No single civil society organization, no single independent organization has come out to say that we are winning the fight in Galamsey. No, I've not heard them say that. In fact, they're saying it's getting worse and worse. So my question is, what is happening to that Galamsey gold? Where does it go? You see, if your mother sells kenke, and then at the end of the day, there's some left, not bought, you can take it or you can eat it. You can mash it, you can eat it. What is happening to the excess, to the Galamsey gold in this country? Because my fear is that we are, because of the high prices of gold, because of how gold seems to be, it is the gold, part of the gold money that is being used to show up the city, right? It is part of the, my point is that we are likely going to be seeing the positive effects of gold and forget where the gold comes from. Every scientist tells us that our kotomre, our cassava, and all our food products in the area, they are getting poisoned. They said that. Ghana Water Company is telling us that the amount of money they need to refine, to clean water for us is outrageous, and they are not doing that. There is a documentary going on another news channel. If you listen to it and you are Ghanaian, you have to cry. The Ghana Catholic bishops went to this president and asked and made a call. They issued a statement. They said the time to end, the time for, what's the name? State of emergency is now. Delay is a failure. I listened to the president on the State of the Nation address. There was nothing he said there that is groundbreaking or that shows that the fight against Galamsey is changed or is going to become bigger and better. No. It's still the same thing. As we're talking, 9 months talks about the lack of, sometimes the lack of equipment. I was here on a news show when the 9 months directors talked about where sometimes they go into the forest and they are meeting forces that are more powerful than 9 months, that they had to retreat on a number of occasions. It talked about where sometimes even some people, when they went there, did not, some of the soldiers did not have vests, bulletproof vests to do this. We need resources to fight them. So my point is that it seems we are throwing the forests, the rivers and the waters under the bus just so we can get the gold. It seems that so long as we are getting the gold and so long as the gold prices are high and so long as we can use that to show up the economy, we should shut up about Galamsey. Please, why are we selling our future to eat today? Why are we poisoning and killing ourselves slowly in the name of the white gold or in the name of gold just so that the economy is there? We shouldn't do that. And I think that it's time. Look, this president has had 1 year in office. And my expectation was that he would have come up with a very robust plan to fight Galamsey and given us specific KPIs on how he intended to achieve that. But there was nothing like that. And so for me, I feel completely betrayed and I feel completely disappointed that we have still let. Now, look, the fear is this, that now the government is not only neglecting the Galamsey fight, we are trying to normalize it. We are trying to make the Galamsey like it's just there. It's like, you know, it's like cancer, so you cannot treat it, you can just treat it. You cannot cure it, you can just treat it. We shouldn't do that. We can fight. I can quote a former member of parliament and a current minister of state who said that the chief executive, the Ghana commander-in-chief of the country can fight Galamsey in less than 1 week if he wants to. We are not doing that. So one of the biggest losers in this current economy is Galamsey, is our forests and it's our rivers. One. Okay. Two, one of the second biggest losers in this kind of thing is farmers. We've talked about all these indicators again coming well. But there is no class of farmers in this country who are clapping for the economy. There's no class of farmers in this country who are saying that we are very happy about what is happening. There's no class of farmers like that. You've digested the cocoa farmers issue. And we've talked about no matter how you do it, they are worse off. Two, we've talked about maize farmers. And I've always talked about maize farmers in Tumun, in Walenjang, in Tasso, in Kulfu, in Sesali, where I come from. There's no way you do it. Yes, the prices of foods are falling now. So probably that is what is affecting.
You should take the money to go and support cocoa farmers. That's what Kabiru said, your colleague.
I'm trying not to be disruptive. Okay. But if you do, I will do you so. No. So let's do. So I think let me flow. No, I think he was referencing. So the point I'm saying is that so the maize prices are falling. Now farmers in my country, where I come from, they are contemplating two things: bankruptcy and poverty. I know farmers who have thousands and thousands of maize sitting in their warehouses. The price has come down. So that is why the food inflation has come down, yes. But at what cost to them? They have invested their life savings into this. The same thing in Upper East with rice farmers. There's no rice farmer laughing now. The same thing in North East and other places with yam farmers. I am saying that there seems to be an economic mismatch or misfitting. We need to find that right formula, which is that as these economic indicators and everything that are becoming better, farmers are becoming worse off. We need to find a way to make sure that it is that money. Look, the FOB, the government issued released 100 million for farmers. It got finished 3 days in Accra. There's a pledge in this new budget to reduce 200 million. If you look at what happened to the 100 million, the 300 million will be woefully inadequate. But I don't even think it has been released yet. Because if you go to Tumu now, which produces Sesala produces the best maize in the world and has one of the largest maize, there's no single aggregator there now paying the farm gate price for maize, which is about 450, 420. So something is not working somewhere. And I'm happy that the government could listen and say, look, let's make sure that this farm gate money, this farm gate price actually gets to the farmers. And I don't know whether they closed the border on the importation of rice and maize and cheap products. If that is the case, we need to revisit it. To say that that's the second loser.
That has been done. I think there's a directive as a result of...
Yes, but I'm saying that whatever that has been done so far, it is not solving the problem. The farmers are wallowing in poverty. They are staring at bankruptcy and they are suffering. We need a formula for that.
Right.
2, and precisely because of that, the statistical service tells us that about 30% of Ghanaians are suffering from food inadequacy, food insufficiency. And then I said, I asked myself, how do we have food glut all over the country? The Volta region rice glut is there, Greater Accra eggs glut, Northeast and other places, Savannah yam glut. Why do we have food glut in some places, whilst about 30% of our compatriots go to bed hungry with no food? Something is not being done. This may be a long issue. It may not be something that is just come on, but it is here with us. Can't we use some of the fine economic indicators, some of the fine the space that we need to make sure we do this? We need to be able to deal with the supply chain to make sure that food gets from where it is locked up to where it is needed most. To make sure that the people who need the food to get a 3 days a meal get that 3 days a meal. We have not done that. We need to add value. Look, there's a factory in Tumu called Kedan. Kedan is taking the raw maize and try to turn it into breakfast, to take it to other things like to make breakfast to add value. Governments need to support such initiatives to add value to what we have, because there's no need for the maize to lie in a warehouse in Nandron, in Kulfo, in Tumu, and get rotten, whilst there's a factory that can convert them. Adding value. I heard the government talk about adding value to cocoa. Government, please, can you consider adding value to maize, to rice, to yam, to others, to also make sure that these farmers enjoy from this economy? Because there's no need if fuel prices is cheap and I cannot buy a gallon of fuel and put in my motorbike. There's no need for that. So 3. And then we can then come down to the issues of what the economy is doing well to. Another one of the biggest losers to is jobs. One of the biggest jobs. The president said they created 1 million jobs. The statistical service is 300,000 jobs. Maybe it could just be a matter of them coming together. I hope they come together and address it and solve maybe some ways, because both of them cannot be right. The president cannot be right, and whilst at the same time, the statistical service guy is right. They have to come together. But despite that, teachers were promised automatic posting. They have not been posted. Nurses have not been posted. Unemployment is one of the biggest national security threats in this country. All governments come and they try to do their best. They try to come out to help the people, but they're still there. The thousands and thousands of people who were told to go home and sit when the new government came into place, so far we've not found a solution to them. My point is that if we start putting value on aggregate, it may help. But my point is that we need jobs. This economy then seems to be a jobless economy because it doesn't create the jobs at the rate at which people need them. And people really need the jobs. So we need to come out and make sure that we find a place to do that.
Right.
But anyway, too, from a governance perspective, this state of nation also issued something about what we call trust in government. Trust in government is very important when you want the citizen and national people to believe you. And when you sit down and you think that you pontificate that other people are lying, other people are not being honest, meanwhile, you've realized that the circumstance and what is happening may change, becomes different. Okay. I asked a very simple question. If you were a teacher and you were promised automatic posting, will you still trust the government? If you were a cocoa farmer and you were promised 6,000, later you were promised 3,500, it was cut to this. No matter the explanations given, will you trust government again? If you were a farmer and you expected that the government will have your back in very difficult times like this,
If you're a farmer and you believe that when there are challenges and your stock is locked up there, your capital is locked there, your investment is locked in the government account, will have them. So these, if things have a way of denting the trust in government, and if we do not do that, a time will come when we want citizens to trust us, they won't. A time will come when we want citizens to believe what we say, they won't. A time will come when citizens will be so skeptical that they will never have the government. So at the end of all these things, we need to begin to understand that it's a bigger governance thing, and that an issue is that as citizens, we must be able to believe what our government is saying. So far, nobody believes what the government is telling them on anything.
Lamas, but you wanted to make a quick intervention before, when Dr. Zato was making the point about the farmers, the prices that have gone down, and the reason why farmers are not earning so much.
Yes, the point I wanted to make was that in his absence, when Dr. Kabiru spoke, he said we should give the support, we should cushion the cocoa farmers. Then, so I wanted to draw Dr. Zato's attention to the fact that it means that cushion the cocoa farmer means that the little taxes that the maize farmer you are crying for, has paid. Kabiru says we should take that money and go and help the cocoa farmer.
That's not what it is. The government bailed out NIB with 100 million cedis. Where did they get the money from?
But where did they get the money from? Where does government get money?
So do the same thing. Exactly. So why did the government fund it? I thought that was why did the government find it necessary to bail out NIB and not bail out cocoa?
I mentioned that point. And what I'm basically saying is that before you come.
No, you mentioned NIB.
No, I mentioned that point.
If it's not the government bail out the bank,
Felix will come with his point. I mentioned that point, and I'm saying that economic decisions are usually trade-off. I agree. That there's no cost to anything you do. Just like the MPP bailed out the farmers in 2017, there was a cost. And this government to taking that decision, there will be a cost. No one is saying there's no to cost. But that's not to say that I said that they should take from. In any case, the farmers who are are not even in any sense be affected under this current situation.
To a bank will be paid back. When NIB returns to profitability, they will pay back the loan. What you are asking is a subsidy for cocoa farmers. That one will not be paid back.
Thank you. That's all I want to say. So I'm just drawing his attention that the poor maize farmer in Tumu, by the logic of Kabiru's argument, will be made poorer. So I'm just notifying you that now your arguments are consistent.
Actually demand that.
Okay, hold on.
Just 30 seconds. I beg you.
No, I think that you've had quite some time. You've had quite some time.
Just 30 seconds.
Please. I need to go for a break.
By now I'll finish.
Please.
Just to say that
when you come back,
under the current glut, we have discussed the glut about the food glut. I'm just proposing a solution.
Which I'll come back to. The solution.
All right, then that's okay.
Let it be in your mind.
That's okay.
The solution. Yes, go ahead.
Good. So that's the point. So now you know. So when you argue, you see that.
Now I know that
arguments are killing.
Government could bail out
you know what? When you were speaking, there was no. So Lamas, just make the point.
Yes, Asemu.
Hold on. Please.
All right. Yeah, so that was to make that particular point. Now, the next is you're talking about so that's to respond to the matter you're talking about, the Galamsey fight. Here the president said, in your when Akufo-Addo's regime was in there, you are trumpeting the number of court cases, showing your seriousness in fighting. I heard the president yesterday. He recited the statistics. There are about 134 cases, etc. And now there's even a specialized court. Right?
Did you promise to release Galamsey?
Dr. I don't think you are helping the conversation. Please.
So the point is that today, you don't find those measures as any serious attempt at fighting Galamsey. Yet, just a year and a few months ago, you thought that when your government, your party was in power, that's the MPP was in power, you thought that was serious. That's what I'm just trying to understand. When MPP was in power, you check, Google, you see, Godfrey Dame would come and say, we have this number of cases, Galamsey cases, and we have this number of convictions, and so that shows that the government is fighting seriously. You, Zato, at that time, I never heard you say that what Dame is saying is bladderdash or anything like that. I never heard you poo-poo it. I never heard you say this is unserious, right? But today, JM mentions those statistics, that's the current number of cases, and then you say, no, that's not on, that's not the fight. I'm struggling to see. So is it that the time, but when the MPP, your party was in power, you were here. You were still teaching in the University of Ghana here. You didn't lift a finger. You didn't lift a finger. Then today, so you see, when you do that, you see, always remember that, you see, you're doing mass communication. So it's not only your party people who listen. It's not only your party. There are
I know
people,
your party people to listen.
No, not my party. I'm in the middle. Okay, if you don't believe, that's your own matter. So there are other persons who are neither MP. No problem.
No more than that.
There are millions of Ghanaians who are neither NDC nor MPP. So they are the people you should be talking to. As for charging,
to you because when you sit here,
yes, so I am in that category. But what you are saying doesn't make sense to me. Yes, because, so for me, what you are saying, because of the double standards, I'm like, this Zato is not serious. So you see that I'm no longer supporting your bid for parliament because you want to.
I see. You think you can blackmail me with that? You see, you think
I want you to speak
cannot
in the
interest of when you are supporting NDC, I should keep quiet. When you are talking about the bidding of your president who appointed oral and the oral that is now garbage, you should actually talk. I will talk.
Good. All right. Yes. So that's the point in terms of responding to what Zato is speaking about. So he says that
I will support the vice. You say out on. You can't blackmail me, people.
Oh, all right. Okay, yes. So move on to the next point. So he said when you listen to him and you watch the economy, it didn't produce jobs. It didn't produce. But they've rolled out in the same speech, he's shown you that the Women's Development Bank, they've been allocated 401 million Ghana cedis. The Women's Development Bank. So it'll be rolled out. Is that not jobs? The Accra Kumasi Expressway. Accra Kumasi Expressway. They've set up the company, and the company is going to undertake, they're doing feasibility studies, etc. Is that not going to produce jobs? So wait for next year. And a number of other things. They are going to build 50,000 houses for teachers. That one too was mentioned. The 50,000 houses they are going to units. Carpenters, masons, steel benders, painters, drivers, architects, lawyers, and so on and so forth. Is that not it? So if you see a number of the things it says they are rolling out, you see that all these are going to produce more jobs. So I want the context. Maybe if you had referenced all these things and said, despite these things that he said, you don't see any jobs in them, I think it would have been a fairer argument than just saying that, there's nothing. Okay. I heard a lot of the things he rolled out. And then, by the way, we are chasing it. He says they have presented a code of conduct to Parliament. So I think we have to chase it. Yesterday, I sent somebody to go there. Felix, do you have a soft copy?
No, I do not, but they should be.
Yes, I sent somebody there, but because of the sonar itself, they didn't allow people to enter. Indeed. So we'll see. And JM, we hope that the provision that public officers who declare their assets, right, will have those declarations published is in there, because that's what the IMF said.
But the oral full of garbage.
The oral, he gave it hope by saying that they are fighting corruption. They're fighting corruption, more cases to be rolled out, etc. And Ayeni is not one to give up on oral. Ayeni is not one.
He's not telling us that there is now a court system where the people will have their day.
Yes.
And that it is a constitutionalism under which we are living in.
Yes.
And that to protect people against any dictator.
Yes.
But we knew this.
Yes.
And prosecuted people with your pronouncement.
But oral, how many cases? I'm a Kung Fu professor. It's not before the court. Asamoah is not in court. But it's one of those. Ghana, Ghana Infrastructure Fund. Yes. Edu Buahi and his wife, are they not in court? Abdul Hanan Alibidu, or what they call it, he and his wife, are they not in court? National Service Scandal, ORA, is not in court. There are a number of them, and Ayeni is about to roll out more. I think that we should be more constructive. This reflexive negativity, it's not the one that's going to cut it all. Yes, you are wounded, but try to think positive. You see, you are wounded, but don't think that. I must be clear, because I don't get it.
When you were speaking, when you were speaking,
reflexive negativity. That's just focusing on the negative. So you see the reflective negativity. That's how it ties in that as a part of negative bias. That's the one I've been saying, that the negative bias is what is going to eat you in the 2028 elections, because the people you are parading have this is a truckload, right? Truckloads of negative stories, negative baggage, baggage. You see, so the way you are reacting, that's the same way Ghanaians will react to the candidate you are presenting. So, but if you see the positive, that way you would steer people's mind to the positive. But the more you want to find only the negative, reflective negativity, it will eat you. It will come back to bite you. You wait.
Thank you very much. Now, this is the key point. We're going to go for this quick break. When we're back, there are some issues that both of you have posed to government. A number of questions. You raise questions, you respond to them. I'll be back shortly after this quick break. Stay with us.
It's that time of the year when Media General transforms into Ghana's cultural hub, and this year we're taking it to another level. Our Ghana village is bigger and better. So much to experience, eat, drink, buy, do and learn every single day. And there's more. The Ghana Month Expedition offers 3 nights and 4 days of pure, unforgettable fun touring the best part of the Eastern, Ashanti and Central regions from the 19th to the 22nd of March. And on the 28th March, all roads lead to the Legon City Mall for your favorite food event, the 3FM Gobe Festival. But that's not all. All throughout March, our screens and dials celebrate everything that makes us proud. Our shows, music, movies, festivals, history, traditions, and more. Welcome to a truly incomparable and totally immersive Ghana Month 2026. Ghana Month launches on all Media General platforms on Monday, 2nd March 2026 at 10 a.m. It's time to explore Ghana again. From 19th to 22nd March, join the Ghana Month Expedition. 3 regions, 4 days. Eastern, Ashanti, Central. We kick it off in the Eastern region. Chocolate experiences, fresh farm fruits, Safari Valley lunch with zebras and exotic animals, Bonsu Eco Park for canopy walks and ziplining, and then party at the Rock City Hotel. Ashanti takes over. Bonre Kente Museum, Kumasi Museum, Comfort Noche Source Site, Lake Bosomtri for hiking adventures and sleepover at Rich Condos. Central brings the history, Asing Manso, Cape Coast Castle, plus lunch by the coast, then a Crown Resort vacation, quad biking, horse riding, water adventures. All this for 6,500 Ghana Cedi single, 5,500 Ghana Cedi shared rooms, and 10,500 Ghana Cedis couple. You're interested, right? Call now 0531 100927 or 0247 120 633. Ghana Month Expedition, 19th to 22nd March. Don't just watch Ghana, experience it. It's that time of the year when Media General transforms into Ghana's cultural hub, and this year we're taking it to another level. Our Ghana village is bigger and better. So much to experience, eat, drink, buy, do and learn every single day. And there's more. The Ghana Month Expedition offers 3 nights and 4 days of pure, unforgettable fun touring the best part of the Eastern, Ashanti and Central regions from the 19th to the 22nd of March. And on the 28th March, all roads roads lead to the Legon City Mall for your favorite food event, the 3FM Gobe Festival. But that's not all. All throughout March, our screens and dials celebrate everything that makes us proud. Our shows, music, movies, festivals, history, traditions, and more. Welcome to a truly incomparable and totally immersive Ghana Month 2026. Ghana Month launches on all media general platforms on Monday, 2nd March 2026 at 10 a.m. It's time to explore Ghana again. From 19th to 22nd March, join the Ghana Month Expedition. 3 regions, 4 days. Eastern, Ashanti, Central. We kick it off in the Eastern region. Chocolate experiences, fresh farm fruits, Safari Valley lunch with zebras and exotic animals, Bonsu Eco Park for canopy walks and ziplining, and then party at the Rock City Hotel. Ashanti takes over. Bonre Kente Museum, Kumasi Museum, Komfonochi Source Site, Lake Bosomtri for hiking adventures and sleepover at Rich Condos. Central brings the history. Asing Manso, Cape Coast Castle, plus lunch by the coast. Then a Crown Resort vacation, quad biking, horse riding, water adventures. All this for 6,500 Ghana Cedi single, 5,500 Ghana Cedi shared rooms, and 10,500 Ghana Cedis couple. You're interested, right? Call now 0531 100927 or 0247 120 633. Ghana Month Expedition, 19th to 22nd March. Don't just watch Ghana, experience it. It's that time of the year when Media General transforms into Ghana's cultural hub. And this year, we're taking it to another level. Our Ghana village is bigger and better. So much to experience, eat, drink, buy, do, and learn every single day. And there's more. The Ghana Month Expedition offers 3 nights and 4 days of pure, unforgettable fun touring. The best part of the Eastern, Ashanti, and Central regions from the 19th to the 22nd of March. And on the 28th March, all roads lead to the Legon City Mall for your favorite food event, the 3FM Gobe Festival. But that's not all. All throughout March, our screens and dials celebrate everything that makes us proud. Our shows, music, movies, festivals, history, traditions, and more. Welcome to a truly incomparable and totally immersive Ghana Month 2026. Ghana Month launches on all media general platforms on Monday, 2nd March 2026 at 10 a.m. It's time to explore Ghana again. From 19th to 22nd March, join the Ghana Month Expedition. 3 regions, 4 days. Eastern, Ashanti, Central. We kick it off in the Eastern region. Chocolate experiences, fresh farm fruits, Safari Valley lunch with zebras and exotic animals, Bonsu Eco Park for canopy walks and ziplining, and then party at the Rock City Hotel. Ashanti takes over. Bonre Kente Museum, Kumasi Museum, Komfonochi Source Site, Lake Bosomtri for hiking adventures and sleepover at Rich Condos. Central brings the history. Asing Manso, Cape Coast Castle, plus lunch by the coast. Then a Crown Resort vacation, quad biking, horse riding, water adventures. All this for 6,500 Ghana Cedi single, 5,500 Ghana Cedi shared rooms, and 10,500 Ghana Cedis couple. You're interested, right? Call now 0531 100927 or 0247 120 633. Ghana Month Expedition, 19th to 22nd March. Don't just watch Ghana, experience it. It's that time of the year when Media General transforms into Ghana's cultural hub. And this year, we're taking it to another level.
Welcome back. Felix Kwachofo, so there are a number of, that is a Minister in charge of Government Communications, Dr. Kabiru Mahama is here, also Dr. Joshua Zato, Martin Pebo. Unfortunately, there was a little connection issue with Professor Kwesienin, so we were not able to get to him. But, you know, Felix Kwachofo, so there are a number of questions to you regarding sustainability of this. He said the mitigation measures to the extent that this price volatilities of the gold on the world market, as we have seen, is not one that you want to bank your hopes on. So what are the other measures to address the structure of the economy to sustain?
Of course, that one is being worked on. For instance, when we roll out fully the 24-hour economy, it will ramp up production in the real sector, which in itself contributes to, and you know that closely related to the 24-hour economy is the Accelerated Export Development Program, which is supervised directly by the president himself, which then shows the level of seriousness that he attaches to it. But you see, those measures will take a bit of time. Minimum, you need about 5 to 10 years to begin to feel the effects. And it's not like we've not tried some stopgap measures. We had a free zones concept between 97 and now. They brought in the one district, but it has not reversed the trend, even if it has made some contribution. So it takes a bit of time. But in between that time, the people of Ghana cannot wait and be at the mercy of exchange rate volatility. You must devise other mechanisms until such time that you have this organic, homegrown efforts to ramp up exports, which then firmly anchors the strength of your currency. So that is being done.
Okay.
And once gold prices are high now, it is better to take advantage of it. And that's why the minister describes it as a war chest. It is a basic truism in life. In good times, you save something for bad times. That is what that we are going to do. And
so the 15 months import cover is 15 months import cover is ambitious.
Of course, but it is a target that is achievable. Given you see, projections have been made. You yourself have alluded to the fact that Kabiru admitted it in his submission that the projection is that gold is going to continue to rise.
Yes.
And indeed, geopolitical events too are conspiring to ensure that exactly that happens. So whilst that is happening, take advantage of it. We have far more forex than we are actually expected to have, even by international standards and benchmarks. We have 2.7 months of import cover more than we need. So it means that with a little more effort, we will go up and up and up until we meet this target. Then we are intent on doing so. And mind you, it's also a cheaper way. Because in the past, we have been compelled to go and borrow at expensive rates. And the minister gave the figures. In order to borrow $21 billion, which really comes to our central bank, then they give us cedis to do the things that we have to do, unless, of course, they have to meet some external commitments, at a cost of $3.4 billion and 7.3 billion Ghana cedis in interest payments alone. If you do this gold bond arrangement, and even as they claim that we've lost $240 million, if you lose $240 million and are able to get $10 million, which, and let me clarify, it is not a freebie. It's not like the Bank of Ghana has gone into its votes and just taken $10 billion to dash to government to spend. No. They have simply taken the CD equivalent of that money. In other words, they have sold dollars to operators in the economy who actually need it for purposes of export and other activities. So that one must be clear. But you see, there were a number of sweeping statements that Zato made that must be clear. First of all, this persistent business attempt, to link Galamsey to gold board, and he's an academic. I'm a scientist. I believe in empirical evidence. You see, it is what I see that I believe. And he, as an academic, also understands that, even if his field is in political science. When you do research and analysis, it is the conclusions that support the concrete positions that you take. There's absolutely no evidence of this. You see, small scale and artisanal miners are permitted by law. The country, Ghana, made a law and said that we permit small scale operators, because you see, it won't make sense to allow only big, often foreign multinationals to come and mine our gold. There are people who may not have that level of capacity, but they have some indigenous technology, which is safe, the law recognizes that they use. Those people used to mine gold, and they escape through the net. And there's no accountability. We don't get any wind of the resources that accrue from that activity. So Gold Board is supposed to mop up that. Gold Board does not have a policy of buying from Galamsey. Indeed, Gold Board actually has supported the work of the anti-Galamsey fight, NIMOS. And NIMOS, on a daily basis, continues to go after people who are engaged in Galamsey. We have arrested far more people engaged in Galamsey now than the MPP did. Today, there's regulation that guides the importation of excavators. The EPA has been on the prowl recently, seizing champagnes and then closing down these factories that manufacture champagnes. So any claim that the president didn't show evidence of work. And in addition to this, there are prosecutions. Why? The regional chairman of the MPP, Ashanti, Wuntumi, he is a big fish in Ghanaian politics. Is he not standing trial for Galamsey-related activity? So what more evidence do you need than the fact that this is happening, which shows that it doesn't matter whose ox is God. Once evidence emerges of your involvement, action will be taken. The other issue is this attempt to run down oral. You see, it is surprising that the people who oral is affecting the most are the ones claiming that it's not working. And no, I beg you. You see, first of all, again, you see, Alfred, let me put it on record. When we promised oral, nobody in the NDC, including President Mahama, said we were going to use extrajudicial means. We were never going to tie people to the stake and shoot them.
They said we were going to
we were not. No, listen.
Tribunals.
Listen. Yeah, but the tribunal is lawful. Tribunal is in the constitution.
So
Indeed, I sat in. Listen. I sat in cabinet. Cabinet approved it. So the tribunals are coming back. They are lawful. It's in the 1992 constitution. Yeah. So if a tribunal is set up and I'm dragged before it, it is lawful activity. What we never said was that we're going to tie people to the. So Kabiru is alleged to have stolen this phone. Then I come and drag him in the middle of the night from side, tie him to a stake and shoot him. Is that what oral is about? No. Oral is about due process. And as I speak to you, there are over 100 former appointees who have been dragged before investigative bodies. Yeah. Some of them are on bail, as I speak to you, including very high-profile personalities in the party. Yet they go through all this and then they turn around and come and tell you that oral is doing nothing. And as Martin said, there are 15 people standing trial as I speak. As I speak to you, in some of the cases, the Attorney General has finished making his case. But you see, due process is necessary so that I don't unfairly target Zato because he's MPP.
Right.
That simply because I don't like him, I fabricate charges against him, drag him to court to waste his time. So the court system is put in place to ensure that the state is not able to do that. And it protects all of us. There will never be a time for as long as we remain under constitutional governance that any government can act extrajudicially and young people and punish them because they have been accused. You must go through due process, and that is what we are doing. We have never said that there was any other way to pursue. It is Operation Recover or Loot. How do you recover the loot? You have to be convicted by a court of the crime before you forfeit the property which is believed to have been the proceeds of the crime, or which, if disposed of, can help recover the resources that you are alleged to have stolen. That is what we promise, and that is precisely what we are delivering.
Thank you. Dr. Kabir Mahama.
I think yes, so I'll try to make it brief. One,
precisely.
The measure of oral is to recover some $21.9 million. Nothing short of that is a failure of the program. So for me, I'll give them time. I'll give them time because that was what they presented to the good people of Ghana. Secondly, the President's State of the Nation address touched on two issues: resetting Ghana and Accra resetting. These two, as I've argued, and we have to repeat same, even if we have to do it at IDIM, is what the point that is the repackaging of the PCPEC program and also the Accra initiative. You remember after the COVID, and when we came to the army, we presented what we call post-COVID program for economic growth. Basically, all the targets and all of us is what we are, and people have forgotten about it. And when the ministry comes back with the same thing with some different name, people think it's something different. Read the PCPEC program, come and read the Accra Initiative program that President Kufuor started. Then you realize, President Akufo-Addo started, you realize that the Accra reset and also the Ghana reset are basically these two things. And lastly, they have not told us about the funding of this goal. When you read the document, 127 tons of gold is going to be wrapped every year. That will translate to 20 billion every year. How are they going to get the money to fund that? They've not stated. We need to know.
Right.
Thank you.
But this particular policy is one that we're going to be tabling in the coming weeks, in fact, to interrogate a bit more detail into it. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us. We do appreciate your time, to you as well, Dr. Zato, Kwebu, and then Phyllis Kwachofoso. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. And my name is Alfred Okansey, and do have a great weekend.